We'll go this
Last.
You go. So, welcome everybody. Thank you. This is our first ever staff council retreat, or at least first in recent memory. And wanted to thank everybody for all the hard work that went into preparing. I thought the council's been doing a lot of work to get itself organized, and staff certainly did a lot of work to get ready for our conversation today. So thank you to everybody for that. I'm Dan Demerit. I'm the chair of the Orono Town Council, and I guess my observation would be sometimes when you're on a trail or on a mountain bike in Orono, you're actually in Old Town. So that's kind of how it works out sometimes. But Scott?
Scott LaJoy, captain with the police department. Usually pithy, but not too quick, so I don't have it.
Okay, that's all right.
Can I have a recap of the questions?
Some kind of Orono observation, something about town or something you do, or something
Okay.
interesting about Orono, or something you've observed in Orono that you find interesting, or
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
I'm Megan Hess. I'm the Environmental Services Manager and also the Assistant Director of Public Works. The first thing that sprung in my head is the differences since I've been here in college, and differences in working for the town and what I noticed differently.
okay. Councilor Hardison.
I'm Andrea Hardison. I live on Hillside Road in the middle, and one of my observations is that we have a lot of staff who care. And it's time to decorate for Christmas.
I'm Dan Merrill. I'm the police chief, and my observation from my days of driving around is that I think Orono is the town of dead-end streets. I find that very interesting. It all either loops in around on itself, or it is a dead-end road. There are not many pass-through roads here in Austin.
Lori Carpenter, library director. One of my favorite times of the year in Orono is fall, when you walk down the river trail and all except turn yellow, and it feels like just kind of a golden tunnel.
Laraway, I'm on the council. And just one thing I've noticed over the years is that no matter what kind of weather or like kind of what time of year, the view from the bridge is always beautiful. But
I'm Lindsay Varnum. I'm the youth services librarian and the assistant director at the library. And my observation is recently a lot of different organizations and groups have really been wanting to support vulnerable people in the community, and this is from all over the place in town.
I'm Earl Labonte, Public Works Director, relatively new here. One thing I noticed is that Orono is a typical nice, small town.
Chris Brown managed the wastewater facility, what you know of as the WPCF. I've come to realize, well reminded as last few weeks, how appreciative residents are of staff. Just from many personal experiences in the last few weeks. For whatever reason, there's always something.
I'm Matt Powers. I'm on the council, and one of the interesting things about Orono for me is that there's a very high number of ukulele players per person here. I think that ratio is unusually high.
I'm Zach Turner. I'm the finance director, and maybe this is an Orono-based observation, but an observation that I enjoy about my job is seeing the changes. Like, I see the paperwork for things going on in the community, but going out and seeing what's actually happened beyond the paperwork is something I really enjoy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Scott Willett, I am the facilities manager. I guess my observation, like Dan driving around, I find it hard to think about.
I'm Megan Mazzella. I'm the Parks and Rec director. And I really love observing the recreation through the seasons, how well attended the pool is, to how well attended the ice rink is, to how well attended, some of the events we put on. So that's really enjoyable.
All right, Artisan Fire Department. One of the things I've noticed since being here since college is just how much this town has grown over the last.
Congratulations on your 95 years of service. Was it a couple fewer than that?
Yeah,
But
it's,
more than Mitch. I know it was more than Mitch, but yeah.
Just where the university's grown, the town has grown compared to what it was back then.
I'm Sarah Marks. Gosh, I think I had a couple different things pop into my mind. One thing I thought was what a cool town this is for the ideas that sort of spring up organically out of the community. I was thinking when I first moved here and Arzapalooza popped up, I think shortly after, and the pride animals just showed up one time and things just sort of happen organically from the community, which I really enjoy. And I was also thinking about how one of the first things I noticed about town, and one of the main reasons I moved here, was that the schools and the town offices were still all centrally located in town. And everybody can walk to all of those things. And we were moving back to Maine. I'm from Maine, and I was looking for a place where it felt like all the services of town were walkable and all close together. And it's something I love here.
I'm Tom Higgins, Fire Chief. This town always has been intriguing. I've loved the looks of this town from Kelly Road driving in through. I always just liked that looks, and I love driving through it every morning as I come to work.
My name's John Quinn. Sorry for running late. New to the town council, and I think one of the things that I really enjoy and have noticed is I don't know if it's the walkability or the way the town is kind of laid out, but always running into people. There's lots of like opportunities available where you have those kind of natural organic encounters with yeah, I don't know how they're facilitated, but they occur, and I think that's a really nice part of living here.
Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager. One of the things that I've always recognized about Orono, whether it was growing up here or coming back to work here, is that I think a combination of being a university community and the transient nature of turnover is that with a university, you always stay really cutting edge. Because what they do over there has to be cutting edge, and so it trickles into the community, and so we're always seeing new things, and it's relatively quick. And where other towns or cities they take a little bit longer to move through that, but we're kind of comes with the territory, if you will.
So Clint DeShan, Town Manager, and my Orono observations, got a ton of them. I love to make observations, watch this town. I think the one thing that sticks out the most is with the diversity of people, whether you were born and raised here, whether you moved here and stayed here for a few years, whether you're from Maine, from out of state, out of the country. There's a lot of diversity there with a lot of vibrant, unique, creative ideas. And in that lies the challenge of when do we stop having great ideas and do things? What do we want to do? Because there's always more great ideas. But yeah, that's my observation.
Point taken.
No. It's
over here. Yeah.
Cool.
Good, we're already, we're right on time, actually. So this is, we wanted to talk a little bit about Town Council 101 and talk a little bit about, we've made a lot of progress this year in terms of kind of formalizing our process and working such that it would be something we can replicate year in and year out, no matter, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty around elections. I'd like to think we have some stability here in Orono. Maybe we're a little removed from some of the most polarizing, troubling stuff. But you see it in Bangor, you see it in small towns where they come to town meeting and upend, budget plans and things like that on seemingly on a whim, and of course in the state politics and nationally as well. But we wanted a system, I think, as a council, to have that we could replicate year in and year out, provide some consistency and better transparency. So you'll see when we talk today about Council 101, I think we'll talk a lot about the progress we've made and the work that's still underway to provide that process and dependability for people who live here, people who work here for the community. But we wanted to touch briefly on communication and service. We get a lot of support for, I like to think Orono is a pretty special community and unlike any other, in Maine, and I think there's a strong case to be made for that. Given our competitive advantages and what sets us apart. We also are one of hundreds of 400 and something communities in Maine that all kind of have to play by some of the same rules. And we lean a lot on MMA for their services. So Clinton was going to talk a little bit about what for counselors, but just in general, what those services are that we rely on.
So first and foremost, www.memun.org. Maine Municipal MEMUN. Check it out. The site's loaded with tons and tons of great information, but it's a volunteer organization. Towns don't have to be members. Some choose to, some don't. Varies from time to time. With membership opens up some other opportunities. They're probably known for four key things, I think, with this in group that we could probably talk about. First and foremost, they're an advocacy resource for us in that they have the main legislative policy committee. 70 people are elected every year. They meet a lot and talk about all the bills that are going on at the state of Maine and how they affect us as a community. It's a great resource. Without it, we would be tracking on our own endless amounts of information. It's an amazing team. They've been there. The lead of the department, Kate Dufour, has been there 25 plus years, and she's great at what she does. And she's part of a team that's got a lot of great experience too. So that's a big thing that they do for counselors. If you want training on anything, you ask us, we'll get it. They've got it all. And you can see it on their website as well. In addition to that, they also are they have a legal services department. That legal service department's free, but it is not, they will not give directed opinions on specific pending litigation. It's got to be generic legal questions in the broad, hypothetical, or non-specific to a case that you're actually facing. You can word it that way, but you got to be careful not to mention names because they don't want to get into that liability. Recommended, direct them through me so that I know the questions that are going in and those answers get disseminated out to everybody. Doesn't have to be that way. It's just a good way. And it's one of the things you'll see on their website to when you look there. In fact, I'll even bring up an addition. If you go on there in their legal area down at the bottom, they have lots of resources about how to use their legal services, their limitations. They will not do individualized legal documents, ordinances, or contracts or charters, which is what I was trying to refer to. And if you go a little further, you will see they have a database down here at the bottom of legal manuals, legal notes, information packets, sample ordinances and policies, you name it. Check them out. There is a lot of great stuff there. And the last thing I would say with MMA is they're a service provider. You do not have to be a part of their health trust or their insurance risk pool or their workers' comp. Orono was chosen to be all three. We're actually looking in to see if we're going to stay with their workers' comp, but those are voluntary, not required. You don't get membership. You have to be a member to access them. But again, so they supply all our health insurance, all our property and casualty and risk insurances, as well as for now workers' comp, and maybe we'll continue. Workers' comp's a self-funded risk pool. You get into it, they're not like a private sector insurance company where you pay the premium. You're actually paying on your actual losses. So if the more losses you have, the higher our premiums. Less losses we have, the lower the premiums. So that's MMA in a nutshell. If you got other questions, but just want to make sure everybody knew it. It's a great resource. They offer a lot of benefits.
Next up, and we are 1 minute behind schedule. And I hear there's Taco Rita, so I'm gonna be kind of a stickler on timing, right? Sarah's I'm gonna touch on a few things. We're not gonna, this isn't a tutorial, I don't think, by any stretch. But we're gonna touch on a few things that the council has been developing in terms of our chargers and manuals and budget and finance overview. So Sarah, do you want to kind of touch on the procedures manual that's being developed?
Yeah, this is a draft for, I guess, is it going to just council?
Just the council for now.
Okay,
Staff and
got
I
it.
talked about it. Yeah.
I was just asked to sort of give an update. The NECAP committee's been working on updating this now since about July. There'd been a lot of work by council previously, so the existing one on the website is very out of date after all the changes on how council committee structures worked. So I guess I was just asked to bring this forward. So at least councilors have a draft of where things are at now. We have not as a committee yet gotten into the appendices, so I didn't even give you any of that. But some things that I wanted to highlight in here, I guess, especially just to start off, this was here and we did not create it. So whoever of staff had any input or whoever developed the last version, I just love this opening paragraph that talked a lot about the culture here, which really spoke to me from the beginning. It talks about the culture of council. It says the cultural style is one that is professional yet fun and informal at the same time. That was prior even to Dan's dad jokes. Innovation and creativity are encouraged. Council encourages its members and staff to speak freely, openly, and honestly without fear. Challenging and thought-provoking dialogue is welcome, and council recognizes that a culture that encourages independence and flexibility ultimately results in greater success, both individually and townwide. And it was part of when I joined council, I was like excited to join because I had read this and I was like, this is something I want to be part of, this kind of culture. So I think some of the things that are in here that if you're a new counselor, or even old and might want to know about that I think are really helpful. The beginning really clarifies sort of the council manager relationship, which is really key to understanding the kind of government that we have in Orono. And you hear about that all the time, but I think it's helpful to have it in writing right up front. And then it goes into the 7 roles of council. There are kind of 7 roles that council has, and these are all delineated here. I guess I should say Clint serves on the kneecap committee. So this was again with the council manager relationship, like super important that he's been a really integral part to helping us to revamp and rewrite this. So I really want to highlight that for anyone on council to take a look at what those 7 roles are. Also, as you keep going, you're getting to a lot of more detailed structure about how council meetings work, how things move back and forth from council meetings to committees, which I think is important to understand. Is that page about committees around here? Will that go around later?
Got it right.
Anyway, for counselors who have it, you flip to the page 8 and you get this great graphic that Shelley developed that really helps you to understand. There are a lot of different committees in this town. When I first started, I couldn't believe the library has 3 of its own, right? Just for the library, there's 3 boards or committees. And it was always very confusing to try to understand, like, what are all these different committees and which ones are actually council committees and which ones are not. So this graphic is really helpful in understanding there are some boards we have that are required by state law and charter. There's others that are in our own ordinances, like the library board of trustees and the tree board Megan works with, right? Maybe both Megans, I'm not sure, but I know this Megan. And that's a whole other category. And then you get to the committees of the council, which only have counselors on them. That's in column 3. You get to column 4. Those are the special committees that council can create. And you get to 5. Then there's all these other ones that aren't even part of the town government, but that we send like liaison people off to. So when Shelley created this, I think this really helped us to begin to understand our structure better. And I want to highlight that, especially for folks too. I think the other part I think that's especially helpful when you get to page 16, it really talks about what things council can do during council meetings, which I think is important to understand that there really are only 4 ways we can act. We, by charter, can only do things by an order, an ordinance, a resolve, or a motion. And if you're new counselor and you don't know what those 4 things are, read that definition on page 16, because it will help you to understand what's going on at council meetings. And then it also has a section about what council can do with an item that's on the agenda already. There are 5 choices. We can vote on it that night and resolve it. We can send it to a future council meeting for further discussion, which kind of means we've tabled it definitely with a date when we're talking about it. We can table something indefinitely, which means we're just putting it on hold, and if we don't get back to it in 90 days, it disappears. We can send an issue off to committee, and we can send an issue off to workshop. So I think structurally, those are important for new counselors. And then I think the last thing I would probably highlight, well, maybe there's 2. On page 22, if you're new, you're going to get sent to FOA training, which is about Freedom of Access Act. But it's really important to understand that all communications as a counselor are public information, whether you're messaging to Clint, or you're messaging to another counselor, or you're messaging to the public, it's public information. And it's important to read this section about how to be sure you're not violating open meeting laws. So you'll get a training on it anyway, but that's all laid out again in there. Dan, can you think of another other section that's super important we wanted to let people know is in
Maybe
there?
just a stylistic observation that may be in here, but in terms of the procedures and things we do in meetings, this council and, and with Clint's leadership, we've been really comfortable bringing things in as an order and having a discussion. And then, are we ready to go? Do we need more information? And I think it's important for town leaders, in the departments to understand that that is to expedite things for us, for the opinion that we've had, and, and Sarah and I talk about it quite a bit, is to be able to move things when we're ready to move things. If it's up, it's clear, and we've had a good discussion, we're ready to move on, let's make government move. And the flip side of that can be sometimes it may seem like there's uncertainty or more time is needed. And we don't want to send the message on its face that something is not, that the job hasn't been done, that, the issue was not, ready for prime time or whatever it is. Council just may need more time. So there's an element of vulnerability there, I think, a little bit, that is, we're trying to strike the right balance, and we definitely don't want to signal, if something gets tabled to another meeting or moved on an agenda item, a lot of times it's just aren't thinking about what else we may need or more time to consider the material or read it, between two meetings. So I guess that's kind of, I just wanted to share that. I don't want anyone to ever think, hey, it was on the agenda, they didn't do anything with it. Sometimes, it's just, we're trying to move things, get things to the agenda as fast as we can. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not, doesn't mean that it wasn't accurately presented or prepared, so.
That made me think about, I also hadn't thought about the last pages on here. That's great. Thanks. I also realized there's a whole section in here, and staff and Clint already are so good at reminding us of this, but just remembering that part of that council manager relationship is that if you're a counselor and you have questions, they go to the town manager, and then, he will direct it if it needs to go elsewhere. But that it's not our job as counselors to be individually reaching out to staff members with our questions unless that's sort of been pre-approved by the manager. And I also wanted to highlight, there's a small conflict of interest section at the end here, which will be expanded by the time you see a next draft, but it does send you to some other resources. And lastly, and maybe if Shelley was here, she would cheer, but there's instructions for counselors at the front about how to use the muni code system for our charter and ordinances. So if you look right on page 3, it's really important to read this section. The charter and ordinances only update once a year on the muni code system. So if you read an ordinance and you think you know what it is, you may not. Because if you're reading in the ordinances and you haven't gone to the top page that tells you what's been changed in the last 12 months, you're often out of date. So for counselors, read those instructions of how to be sure when you're looking up something in the charter or the ordinance, you're actually looking at the current version. That's what I got.
Amanda is also one more resource that for counselors to be aware of that we're bringing online, is that Amanda maintains a spreadsheet of all the different orders and actions in the council meetings. And she shared it with me. And so like last night when I was calling up the resolve we did on Route 2 from, a year ago, I didn't have it, top of mind. I used Amanda's good administrative work. So we're going to share that with everybody so you can access. And so what we do is searchable to the extent the Excel spreadsheet is. So, you have a term and when did we do this? What was that about? It'll be helpful. It's a really good resource. That she's done it. Somewhere in here is, navigating the maternity leave and knowing how effective Amanda is. It's no surprise that was a highlight of the 25 municipal year for the town manager's office, because she does such a good job supporting the council.
Dan, I thought of one thing. There's also just, and you read this manual, and maybe this is helpful for staff to bring up here too. There's like 3 different years that are referred to at this point. There's the fiscal year, which staff is really familiar with, and I guess most counselors are now, but starts on July 1st and goes to June 30th. But also the manual is going to sometimes reference the council year, which starts at the election and goes till the next election. Because a lot of our procedures as a council sort of have to follow that cycle. So as you're looking at it, be aware that when it says fiscal year and council year, those are different things, and neither of them are the January to January calendar year.
All right. Yeah, good. Any questions about that? I'm really can't wait for Chris to talk to us about Route 2 and his pipe project. I guess, yeah, oh my gosh. Everyone's like head spun because the bridge was shut down for,
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun to navigate this year. So next up is a budget finance overview. And we've got a draft Can we talk about our draft calendar process and charter?
Well, it's repetitive. This is the calendar from last night. For the council calendar year, but what we are gonna follow up with right there is probably jump right into more of is the budget calendar. And once this is seen out, we've had some sharing of this. We'll be updating this in. We probably will not, you won't see another calendar update for the council till after the December meetings, because hopefully we'll have our committees squared away and when they're gonna meet, and those can all be integrated in. But this is an extremely detailed version of the budget calendar. So, and this is staff minded, probably the most staff minded calendar you'll see, in the sense that it talks about when the staff starts off with our draft calendars, when we start to discuss this. We've already started some capital improvement program meetings. We're working towards a December 1 budget documents to be sent out, but we actually can hold that a little bit this year, because as we talk about this, what we're gonna do is we're moving capital improvement programs going first. So when you come and keep going down through, I did highlight December 3rd. We're gonna be reviewing our budget format internally as a staff. The key word this year, I think, is accountability. We talked about this, but we want to make sure that all our budgets and all our budget documents are accountable to what the goals are, what the community's needs are. So that's kind of one of the ones we're looking for. And then we do always have this rule, the finance committee approves the budget calendar. So I will be bringing this calendar to that finance committee meeting next month. But I want to talk about it here. We're going to start some department head meetings in January. We're already doing them. I didn't add this in here, but we're already meeting on the capital improvement program as departments, because there's a lot happening there. The council should adopt the budget calendar. We may actually move that up, because I'm looking at the 15th. If it's finance committee seeing it, it's all good to go. We'll bring it forward from there. January starts the capital improvement program. In February, we would have the budget workshop on the capital plan. We would also have a citizen session on the budget. I'm calling them citizen sessions this year. I don't know the current status, and I'm waiting probably someone to tell me, but I think potlucks are a maybe. With the DEIB, there's a new, with this, what I saw last night, DEIB, wasn't that one of the hosts to the potluck nights, and they had a reference in there that they wanted to host another potluck or a monthly?
Yeah, if we have one.
So you do have one set up?
We don't have.
We don't have one, okay. So again, without the potlucks, I wanted to make sure we kept citizen sessions. So those will be done more at the council level, probably here. And by the February 9th meeting, we should have a finalized budget for the hearing. We have no meeting in the 12th. For the 23rd is the hearing, and then we would approve a capital improvement program. That's new. If you read the charter very literally, there is a hearing on both. We're working on the dates. It's supposed to be 60 days prior to the presentation of a budget. We're not quite at the full 60-day mark, but it's close enough and better than it's ever been. So then we would start with the internal reviews in March, and then on March 9th is when budget starts. Council is going to have a big picture, municipal only. Oh, that should say town. Yeah, because we were, that's and again, I'll reiterate those words, but the municipal budget has 3 parts: town, school, and county. That's how we've been referring to them. A lot of times it gets confusing. People talk municipal, but the town budget, school budget, and the county budget all come together for a big municipal budget. We're gonna try to do the draft summary budget would be shared with the council then. Following last year's format, there was like an 11 page document that became the key. That's where we're continuing to focus on that refined, simplified document. There's still gonna be the additional backup. But that draft would be shared at the 9th. Some information may not be available. That's why it's a draft, but we may not have revenue sharing at that point. Some years we do, some years we don't. And that's a big source of revenues for the town. We would spend March finishing it up. And instead of doing, we would format and print some versions of the budget to go out to the council. When we start the council with the manager recommended budget in the end of March, we are getting rid of what we're doing here today. This is no longer going to be part of that conversation. You can talk to staff anytime you want. You can ask questions anytime, but we're not gonna present what our departments do at the budget meetings itself. Those are knowns within the community. What we are gonna talk about is service level changes, things that are going up or going down and why, and why we had to do it. Those will be in there. We will have, and if you see on the 30th, we have a workshop dedicated for all departmental questions from council. So you would have had time to review everything for a few weeks. We'll all be back here as a team, sitting in the room. But it's not gonna be up the chair. Who do we want to talk to? What questions do we have? He can walk through the list. I don't know exactly how Dan is intending to hit it, but again, if you want to talk to no one and just talk to the library will be there. Ask your questions to them. But that's the Q&A night. If there aren't any, then we jump right back into what are our needs, information, and goals the council wants to get out of that. So that at the meeting on the 6th, we'll review all the outstanding items. We'll do any final follow-up of additional information needed. And then that's when staff, Zach, enters the budget into trio. And we come back to the 27th with a council meeting, budget workshop, final discussion, set the final number, and we have a public hearing on May 4th. After the May 4th hearing, you would have a workshop on the 11th if you need it, and if not, on May 18th, adopt a budget, which is a month earlier than last year. And that's the end of that's the walkthrough. Finance committee will have another look at this. I did see a couple typos as I've been through that I'm gonna fix, but that's why it was a draft. And we'll get this out to you in probably the December 15th council meeting to approve. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody have any questions, Matt?
Yeah. I'm curious, and this may not be where you want to answer it, but no, or we have time, but I'm just curious as what the goals, the philosophical goals of the budget this year, what you would like to see go smoother, or how this operates, so that what are the changes in how we're doing this so that it helps facilitate with the staff and helps facilitate us, or is it just letting us know how we're doing it? Because I'm just curious
if you have some feedback. I'm starting with the team, the budget with where we ended last year. There's a lot of great feedback that was shared out at the end of the meeting last year on what should be regularly checked in on. I'm trying to think what a couple of them were off the top of my head.
Things
There was 4 bullets, and like one was always relating.
Operating expense change, whether
Yep.
it's up or down.
Yep.
Level of capital.
Yep.
Expense change, is it up, is it down, is it the same? Where we're at with our reserve funding levels.
Yep.
Like where we're aiming to keep our reserve funds at. And then the last was what the tax impact
On a home.
is on a average homeowner.
Yep.
If someone owned a $100,000 house versus a $300,000 house, but some kind of tax impact. I think those were the 4.
And that's been brought right into the summary as we ended last year. So when we start off this year with a summary, they'll be right in it. But as far as the goals from the town side, we're waiting to see. This is where it all ties together, what you do here at the end of the day today, to talk about whether you're gonna keep the same priorities. What's the work plan? What are the things we want to add in or don't add in? We'll start to set the stage for what our budget needs are, whether we need to make cuts to fit new things in, or we're not fitting new things in. And again, the first part of the budget process with the council in March will be, what are your priorities that you might want to add at that point, having had some more time to think. But none coming in. I mean, I think, yeah. Blank slate. Council each year gets to set their priorities. What are your expectations for the budget for this year? And I'm not asking that, I'm saying that's what it is each year.
But when we look at the budget meetings they start on the 9th as council's first discussion. And then we get the workbook, the typical binder that we get on the 17th. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
And then that's 2 weeks from when we get that binder until the meeting with all the departmental heads.
Yep.
So I mean, I just want to highlight for council that y'all ought to book on your calendars, that you have a lot to do in those 2 weeks, because to come in 2 weeks after you get that big binder and be ready with all the questions that we have for any department is a lot. So I think
You'll get the
it's-
little binder on the 9th.
Right, we get a little binder on the 9th, but we don't see, you know, the, so I just highlight for counselors, because I think one advantage to having this laid out for us and what's gonna come each week is we can plan ahead. Because we don't wanna waste staff time, and we don't wanna like not follow this guideline and really be ready on the 30th with whatever questions we have to make this system work. I think we have to really seriously do our homework between the 17th and the 30th. Does that fit with what you're thinking, Dan?
And I'll start setting up some one-on-ones with counselors just before we roll into any of this, just to get more information.
And-
Thank you, it's really organized.
Yeah, it is really organized. And we'll need to be mindful as counselors in terms of maintaining a focus on the budget, getting the budget done, and understanding that, you know, these key months are not the time to necessarily bring forward new initiatives that are kind of offset off from the work plan. But if 50 residents show up, we're gonna listen to them and we'll figure out where we go from there. But if this, you know, we'll all have to be flexible, but we'll try our best. Like, stay
I'm
on.
not looking at anybody.
Okay, we're pretty close on time still. Any other questions about that? Now, committees have been a lot of work. We've moved a lot of work into committees. We have a lot fewer. A couple of years ago, the council was really having a council of the whole, committees of the whole, all the time in committee discussions, and we wanted to have a more formalized committee process where 3 councilors served on a committee along with, you know, worked with a staff member directly. So we've made that change, and it's been a big adjustment, and it is a lot of work. But we wanted to first go through the updated council committee charges. You have that.
They're on the wall, they're on behind us, they're in your packets, so we do, but I also share them up here. So it starts off with the 4 council committees. I didn't know, I mean, my suggestion, I guess my question is, we're not gonna review these word for word here. If there's changes, I guess each committee should speak up and just say that they might want to revise it, but community development, this is the one that was prepared for in August of last year. Finance updated theirs in September of this year, right? I believe it was this year.
Those
Did
all-
it twice.
Those all have the suggested dates, which were in the kneecap packet, which were then approved by council at one meeting, and they all were posted to the website after that. So there were no changes that I'm aware of in the language, and I don't think Amanda thought there were either, which is why she sent us this link, but it's also on the website if you look.
Does it make, are we gonna have an order to
Yeah.
reiterate these? So if you have something you wanna update as a committee member, or if the staff working with the committee suggested charge change.
When would we possibly do that? Because I would wanna talk with if we want, just briefly if needed before.
So I don't know, Clint, I mean, theoretically, when does your committee next meet?
It's the first Thursday of December, which is what, second, third, fourth.
And when is our second council meeting? The 15th? I think it can go till the 15th unless you see a reason it can't, Clint. I think we'll be better next year round. Like one thing we realized in kneecap is we need to get committees trained to do this sooner. So that when we come into this November, they've already done it and looked at it and told us if there's anything that they've flagged.
So we'll
So-
reiterate and refresh on the 15th. So if you have changes,
I think,
and we can change it the day of the vote at the council meeting if we wanted to, this minor change. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, go ahead, yeah.
You could exchange it. The chair of the committee can take ownership of the document, share it individually with the other committee members and get feedback, and then try and synthesize. You can't make a decision by email, but you could synthesize their feedback into a document that you bring into the council meeting. Does that make sense? Okay.
So the referral forms, council's been shared with those. We do have the new one. Thank you, Andrea, for sharing in the one and say, and something I will say for the conversation, seems like something happened with that, because I felt like at one point we had it. I don't know whatever happened, but we are getting better with this. Those are all there. Those are the ones that are currently referred, including the updated one. There's one that's gonna be added on December 1 to refer the metrics review. Because that was one of the things I asked community development. They were referred with coming up with a metrics. They did that. They want to review those, that's fine, but the council's gonna refer that back to review.
We did
This is-
that consent last night.
Was it last night? I thought it was on December 1. Maybe it was last night.
Yeah.
Okay. So that has been referred back. That's in here. I don't think it's in here yet.
Yeah. I thought we did it last.
Yeah, you may have done a lot. It just hasn't been added in, but that's the other one that's in there. But again, the idea is that things don't go to committee and stay there forever. That they get finished, they come back, and then there's a next step. So we keep that motion going.
We don't want things to die in email. You ever hear that term? I heard that
Yeah.
someone was, we were talking about it with the Salem neighborhood. There's some citizens were working on something and it just kind of, we want a finality and, no is sometimes, we lean into trying to find positive answers for people, but no is a perfectly appropriate answer too.
I think this process is really important that we do this like housekeeping once a year on
Yeah.
committees to make sure
Yeah.
that everything that got referred, if it finished, it's closed out and it's off of the queue. Maybe we can get better at closing them out during the year too, but I was really appreciative that this was coming up and it made me look on my committee back. I did notice there's one on finance committee that I don't know what it means. It says for summary of referral, review and implement a process to bid. What is this about? It's the.
Yep, that's the reviewing all the mid-large contracts the town has. And to come up with a process of when and how often we bid them. They haven't had a chance to get to it yet.
Okay.
That was one of the goals, and I can't remember when that one came out, but we were
I'm
gonna
just,
start. looking.
is that showing on the council agendas? Because it's one that I wasn't aware of. I'm on finance committee and I wasn't aware it was on our list. So again, that helped me when it popped up to be like, maybe we missed this one.
Maybe we didn't add it.
Did anyone else for the committees you're on, did you open them and check and make sure there's not something popping up that you know is done or else you don't know what it is? Okay, that's the only one that popped out to me.
Maybe if all the committees could put that on their agenda for their next, that year end kind of inventory, then everybody, all four of the committees takes a look.
Yeah, we'll get that.
And do we know, are these committee referral forms on a shared drive for each committee all the time? So
Shared drive for the committee, I'd have to ask Amanda. It's
maybe
in
just
your
check with
shared
Amanda,
drive.
because it might be great if they were there all the time too, and then any committee chair and anyone else on the committee could check them when they want to. I think we need to add a line for like closing them out when they're done, so that they can get closed out during the year also, and somebody signs off like done.
Yeah,
But,
at this meeting, at this.
Right,
yeah.
like we finished this, it went back to council. It could happen at the council meeting when the committee makes its final report, but I'd like us to take a look at this form. Maybe we can do that, Clinton, Dan and I, and come back with a sign off line, because that would help too.
Yeah.
To sign off when they're finished. Anyway, thank you. I was really happy for the housekeeping. Thank you.
So we're gonna try and find, that's the active committee referral forms. We're gonna try and find potential committee meeting times. If we can put our heads together during a break or something like that and try and find meeting times that work for everybody.
We want it on the December 1 agenda.
And we want it on the December 1 agenda. Okay? So, all right, and
Those
then,
committees that don't have new members, like some committees kept their same membership. I
Yeah,
think,
next-
going forward, right?
Yeah.
No, every single committee has at least one person new. Okay.
Okay.
So we should definitely try to find each other during break times for each committee.
Yeah.
And see what we can figure out.
yeah, and connect with the staff, the appropriate staff person to make sure we're not, we don't wanna, we definitely don't wanna do ordinance review without Shelley there.
Yeah.
Headless and tailless. So the board structure website project that was shared a second ago, that was phenomenal document. So thanks to that. Special committee charges. Same.
Yep.
Did we,
So quick intro on this, Trails has reviewed theirs recently and it's current and up to date. The comprehensive plan committee, they're done, so that charge is kind of disappearing anyway. DEIB got presented last night, so that's all been updated and with them. Good Neighbor, I'm gonna jump to that one. They have updated theirs just recently, so that's in there and that's a copy to it. Beautification,
Can you highlight for us what was changed on the Good Neighbor one?
when you met and when they did it, they asked for an extension.
Ah,
yeah, we sent
right, the
three
extension of
more
time
meetings and we
and the
added,
addition of new members.
Yep.
Yeah, student members.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was all that changed.
then we made Citizen Kenny a member
right.
and that, well, John will get added, no, John got added last night, so.
I don't want to steal thunder. We had a little chat this morning too about beautification committee. They don't operate under this charge and we don't want it to change.
You don't want this to change.
No, because the model they're under may not exist past the current membership.
Correct.
So if the membership changed and they needed to revert to something, we think this is probably the best place for them to be. but they do not operate under this because they have a unique management system.
Yes.
Currently, we
works.
operate under one person
Yeah.
is the committee and everybody else is a volunteer. Is that right?
Pretty much.
Right.
And having worked under that other system, this system, this one's better.
Yeah.
So then,
But I don't think we could write what we're doing is the
Right.
problem. That's how do you write? And I don't know if we could even attract a
Cause it's
person
really
to
not
take
a
that
committee
role
at
on.
that.
I see.
Yeah, so I don't know, that could be a unique conversation in and of itself, but that's the reality of the beautification committee. But this does have some really good duties and responsibilities. It's the membership section that's a little.
But it seems a little weird for council to vote to approve a charge that we know we're not doing also.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Let's talk about it in a agenda setting meeting. Maybe we can figure out a way to put a placeholder, put a pin in it, you know, from a perspective, but without rocking the boat. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff looks good.
is there a way to actually like have membership say like everyone who volunteers on this work is officially a member of the committee? And then there is a committee, even, I mean.
Right, and I think the other
That's-
question you have is when this was developed, there were different issues.
Right.
And now they've settled into really doing the work as opposed to doing what they're asking, you know, it's really volunteering and making it beautiful. Everything's kind of defined. They're not making the decisions they were making when why and when this was created, if that makes sense.
So we'll talk about it at the leadership
Yeah.
meeting maybe, but if
Okay.
people have thoughts who are, I mean, staff's obviously can talk to Clint, but if counselors have any thoughts about this, you should probably let Dan or I know before we have that conversation.
And chat and talk to.
Yep. Okay.
Just as a reminder, when do you have those leadership meetings?
Mondays a week before the council meeting. So if there's a December 1 council meeting, we meet, it's November 24th, next Monday. We just do it a week ahead.
I just thought it'd be helpful.
That is very helpful. Yes, thank you. Usually Monday, almost always. It
Yeah.
usually gets pushed to a Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't know.
Try to
I
stick
mean-
to Monday.
Does anybody have questions on that, on the agenda setting? I don't know, is that new?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, used to just be, they wouldn't let vice chairs in before.
Well, that's true.
So.
Yeah, I don't know why. I
So
got
you-
it.
You and the manager.
Just the
I don't know
manager
where
and the
you got
chair.
Okay.
And then, so now it's the manager, the vice chair and the chair, and we take and we try and take anything we heard from a meeting that is ripe for a formal discussion. And of course, we send out, so people know, and these are steps that are new to this, in the last year. We send out, we work on the agenda, try and, if something was in future agenda items, we look back at it, and this is something that has to come forward. And then we send it to the whole council on Wednesday, and the whole council has an opportunity to put something on an agenda. I mean, our promise is, it's kind of servant leadership, right? I mean, we'll give Matt can have all the agenda items he wants, but we don't promise him he's gonna get the votes that he wants, but if he wants to have the discussion, we're gonna have it. So that's kind of how, and that's something that all counselors are entitled. It's in the charter, and it's pretty clear, and it's, we don't want anybody feeling like they can't have something heard, so.
I mean, there's no reconsiderations. We got the council procedures to talk about that, but the vote goes one way, you can't say, I want it back on. No, you can't keep asking for something on until the vote changes. It'll bung up the meetings, but we will figure out ways to get more discussion.
Yep.
That's usually how that's been handled. So,
And then it goes public at noon on Thursday, and then if if something comes up between noon on Thursday and 5 PM on Monday, and we all agree, someone can ask to add something to the agenda on the spot. And we've been I can't think of any time where we've told somebody they couldn't have something added to a conversation. That's not a guarantee, but the precedent is generally, if something comes up and people want to talk about it, we're pretty comfortable talking about it, so. But we ask that no surprises, right? And we don't want to surprise the manager with something, and through him, he'll keep the appropriate staff informed that something's coming up. So, yeah, we don't want anybody to be surprised. Okay, I think we're ready for break.
Council one-on-one's done.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a time for the rest of us to try to talk about committee times.
Says break on the agenda, but
I
we
know,
can do
but
that
during
too.
break.
I know, keeps me so honest. Yeah.
Y'all don't get
All right.
it. Take the finance committee, I think they're pretty set. Yeah,
Done.
I feel like finance is set, right?
Ready?
Who's first, right?
Yep.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. 5-minute break was an 8-minute break, but I think we needed it. We got some good work done in the side sessions.
Welcome, Shelley.
And welcome, Shelley. Oh, you gotta tell us, you gotta give us one you gotta introduce yourself and give us one observation about Orono. So somebody said, Rob said, for example, the views of the bridge all year long are amazing. We had the leaves on the Stillwater Trail. We had a lot of good stuff.
Okay,
Something about Orono that you.
great. So Shelley Crosby, town clerk. And I think the one thing that I knew as a little girl, all the way until I took the post of the clerk, was that Orono was a special place because we used to come down and of course we did the restaurants and we would see the lights up and down Main Street. And I felt like Orono was a place that valued history and valued community. And that was something, being from a rural area of like less than 1,000 people, I didn't really see. So this felt kind of like a big place to me. And so even as a young girl, I would wonder about the people that lived here and what their lives were like and the homes. And so it was an honor to be hired and become the clerk here so that I could be the custodial of the record.
Yeah, that ties in nicely together. Beginning of life to, well, wherever you are, I won't say end, but wherever you are now. Yeah.
So I love the culture and I love what Orono stands for.
Okay, we're gonna start with, my favorite part of being chair is telling people they can't ask questions, so, particularly Sarah. So we're gonna go through Clint and I talked about it, we negotiated it, we had brought a mediator in to our phone call today and negotiated it, but we're gonna run with presentations, we're gonna run through them, council and anyone would ask clarifying questions only, and we'll share kind of the bigger discussions to the dinner, the working dinner. That's how we discussed it, right? So that way, if we have something that we wanted to bring up, take a note and we can talk about it. We're gonna eat right around this shoe, right? So we'll
Come in there and we'll just, yep.
okay, does that work? So you only get clarifying questions if it feels like it's more than that, let's try and hold it till the dinner time. Okay, Dan?
Looks like I'm up.
You're up.
Mark,
What's next time we should-
Icebreakers. Put the best for first, it's all downhill from here. So, police department, our current operating budget right now, it's broken up into 3 main content areas. Our budget is about $2.3 million over all 3 of those. That $2.3 million covers all of our operation. It will cover my 16 staff members, which is 2 civilians. So my administrative assistant, Jessica Mason, and our director of community policing, Ed Leskey, and then the 14 sworn that would include the captain and I. And with that, we handle all of the enforcement of the town, some of the town ordinances, administrating concealed weapons permits, and enforcement of all the laws in the town as a general whole. And over the last year, I would say the biggest thing that we were able to accomplish is we were able to get back up to full staff. It took me almost a year to hire somebody, but we're finally full staffed again. And I would say the one big thing that excites me and the biggest goal that I have on the horizon for the police department is right behind me. It's right at 56 Main Street. I think that that's an opportunity that's been talked about at the police department since I've been here for 18 years. As an opportunity, a good home for the police department to really have our own place to call home and to create a perception and really a reality of safety in the downtown corridor. And what's better than that than having its own flagship building right across the street. So that's what we do.
Yeah. Any clarifying questions? I think back to when we were kind of kicking the can on the study about the building across the street, and to hear you say that, we said we'd get to it, and we're getting to it. I feel good about that, so. All right, next up, fire department.
Hey, thank you. Again, I'm Tom Higgins, I'm the fire chief. I've only been here just over a year. We do operate with 24 firefighters on our crews, well, 24 altogether, 6 per crew. It's a busy department for me. This is a busy area with the university. There's a lot more that goes on up there than I expected that we would have for interaction. And it's kind of a sleepy thing that kind of fools you, really, sitting off on the island. one of the big things for us is staffing and training staff right now. There was, I'll call it a mass exodus. There was a bunch of people who left through retirement or that decided they wanted to go to a different department. So our department is really young right now with some people that are younger than even I worked in the last job that I had, so they weren't even born then. So it's challenging with some of them. They do a good job. I think they're challenging because they're ready and willing to learn all the time. And so there's things going on. Last night, I could not believe when I went back from the over the fire station last night was that there were people that were cleaning and they were vacuuming and cleaning my office that time of night. So it shows the work ethic that they have, that they were doing that at 7 o'clock at night. Few other things that I wanted you to realize, and some of you may have heard you talk about it in the past, was it's kind of amazing to me to find out that the studies that our busiest hours are between 5 and 6 o'clock at night. Our busiest day is Wednesday, and our busiest months in 2006, 2004 and 2005 were August and September. So lastly, I'm just gonna say, you know, everybody knows that we're the fire department and that we run EMS services. That's easy for people to understand because that's what you see out all the time. So I try to on the road, but they do so many other things and with the hazmat team, with maintaining equipment, cleaning equipment, making sure that it's checked and ready to go, and being a part of things. One of the things the firefighters do love is getting out in the community, and they do a great job over at the schools and being available to everybody. But I could talk all night long, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
I have something.
Sure. Clarifying question.
They are clarifying, I think. I just wanted to double check. I was noticing you were talking about having a young staff. Are we fully staffed now in the fire department? And how much of the year have we been fully staffed since, I don't know, July when we started this year?
We were fully staffed, but only for a few days. We have one resignation. We have
A few months.
I don't think we made it more than a few days. It didn't feel like it.
But we're down one staff person, not more than
We're
that.
down one. We have two that are out. So.
Okay, so we're down one, but in addition to that, we have two that are out, so we're actually down three.
Yes, I counted as three.
Yeah.
But it's technically on paper, we show us down one.
Okay.
So.
So you can't fill those positions, you have to leave them open pending their return and then lean on the rest of your staff to.
I think that if we had somebody that had special qualifications, was everything that we dream of somebody being, I'd be going to see the manager.
Yep.
About it and see what we can do if we could have a firefighter paramedic to come along, but in our application process, we received quite a few applications, right? Around 35, we did, but
32, yeah.
but not with the credentials that we'd like to see them. They're not paramedics. It takes so long to get someone to paramedic school now, like 5 years for us to get somebody through the school, but we'd love to hire some. So there's some ideas on that. So look at that in the future. And I might as well mention, since this council is here, that this year we need to take some time and talk about a ladder truck. So we will.
Question about the ladder.
The other stuff? Yeah.
I have one other clarifying one. But
Sure.
Last one.
What do you, I'd like to, can you expand a little bit about on the goals in terms of, the retention? It seems like it's such a, keeping it's, how do you think Orono Fire Department's positioned now? As opposed to it, or maybe what else do we need to do to be able to retain? And I guess the same, maybe it's a heads up for a dinner conversation, but maybe for a dinner conversation, what else can we be doing to support departments that have a hard time retaining staff? In this. Just think about maybe that for police and any other, I guess, any department that's had.
I think a lot of us have that. I don't think we're the only one. You said you're fully staffed right now, but hopefully you stay that way. Seems like you mentioned it.
I think
changes.
I think from what I've heard, if we're asking right now, some of it up from what I've heard is just generational in that they don't have the loyalty to the place that hires them that used to have them. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I just think that they've, from what I've heard and seen, I think they're more nomadic in that they're looking to go see what things have to offer, go see what other places have to offer. So they stay here for a little while, they get what they can, then they feel topped out and they're like, I gotta go try something else. And they're more open to scratching these other career professional development itches than former generations were. So some of it's just do all we can do.
Yeah.
That was what I said.
Yeah.
And they're moving interdepartmentally. You know, I know this is a huge thing down south where it's like, stay here for 3 years and then you go there and then you stay here and you go there and you just jump around. You'll spend your career doing that. So.
Yep, there is not that loyalty that used to be that department that trained them and put them in the position they're in.
Yeah.
They'll jump to somewhere else because of a small amount of money. I always tell people the grass isn't greener, it's just a different color.
Yeah. And then but we have rigid structures in terms of compensation with our bargaining units, right? Where you can't just arbitrarily, if Steve is getting ready to leave or Kathy's getting ready to leave, you can't say, well, here's a little something extra for you to stick around. That messes up the whole bargaining unit structure.
Yeah, I think we have some flexibility there is on those things, but we need to catch them and find out about it before they've actually already made the decision, already committed to somebody else is what happens to us. A lot of times we don't find out about it, so.
Is there an exit interview process?
A bit different by departments, but yes.
I like to sit with people if they're leaving and see why, what their reasoning. It certainly is widespread and varied.
I go case by case. Some people give me reports. Sometimes I ask to meet with them. Sometimes I just take sometimes a written report by the employee that left. So it just varies, but yeah, we do have some structure for exit strategies and exit interviews.
One of the biggest things that we did recently to retain people is our biggest bad look was our schedule. We were able to change our schedule to be the same as most every other department in the state. Cause our old schedule, nobody wanted to work anymore. They all wanted to go to this new schedule.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing for us to help move towards the retention side.
Is that the 56-hour or whatever?
56 to a 42.
But it also puts you in a quandary as far as you're just equal. That brought them equal to others, didn't bring them ahead anywhere, so that it's a big catch for you. That's what everybody else is working. So it's a big step and I applaud it.
Yeah. Like you're trying to sell more exercise videotapes. You go from the 8-minute app to the 7-minute app. That's what, that's a movie, because I'm sure you and I.
House of Celsius.
Yeah.
Double their sales by going to block flops.
Just to support that for people who are newer in town is that it was an every third day and now it's an every fourth day shift.
So you're saying that like a bigger grill isn't gonna
Not gonna.
scratch the surface?
Not gonna.
No, we'll cook on a little camp stove.
As a Texan, I thought a bigger grill, it's gotta be or something.
But you're gonna talk workforce too. It's a smaller workforce now than it was, and it's shrinking fast.
And
So and we've known about it my entire career. And it's here and
That was
all the planning and all the work, it's still a shrinking workforce. So what do we do with it? And we gotta figure out ways to adapt.
Is the shrinking tied to, you mentioned how much time it takes to train someone up to be a paramedic? Like, are there lots of places in the state of Maine to do that 5-year training to get to be a paramedic? Or is that hard to find? Is it a lack of training opportunities in Maine? Or is it, there are plenty of those, but people aren't filling them? Or is it both?
Yes.
Both, okay. Where do you have to go to do that?
So Eastern Maine Community College.
Okay.
Kennebec Valley.
Got it.
Southern Maine.
Southern Maine
colleges,
Community
yeah.
College, in Northern Maine you can as well, but it's tough traveling all those places. And it's like, advanced is 2 semesters, paramedic is 3 semesters, so getting through and the timing of finishing up a class so that you'll be available to start that one.
How often is it that we get a VZ or an Old Town or heaven forbid a Bangor crew in Orono responding to a call? I'm kidding about the Bangor thing, but responding to an Orono call.
how can respond to us?
Yeah, like, in terms of like, is there ever times where we're out, we're out covering two different things and then a third thing, I don't know what the number is that triggers it, but.
They, I was amazed when I come here to see how well they manage the
Yeah.
calls with the number of people.
Yeah.
And, so they do a good job, day-to-day calls. You wouldn't see Bangor here, but you would if there was a house fire, structure fire, then we'll have, them here.
Okay.
If they come up, they'd be anxious to get here. But as far as for EMS calls and things, for the most part, we handle them with, the immediate
Team,
group
yeah.
right here with Orono, Old Town and Glenburn and Milford, so.
Okay. And do they have professional firefighters in Milford and Glenburn, or do they have volunteers?
Yes.
Okay,
One more clarifying one.
sure.
Just on the middle section where you were talking about, you got through the 24 people on shifts and all that, but then the second sentence or third, 22 members of the department are hazardous material technicians. So that's, they're certified to do the hazmat.
Yes.
And then what's the rest of that sentence? The rest are, so the other,
Rest are in operations level, there's a technician level, there's operations level. So that's, they're at operations level, not at technician level.
so 22 out of the 27 are hazardous material technicians, or 22 out of the 24?
Out of the 24.
Okay, so 22 out of 24, and then 2 of them are at a operations, which is lower than the
Yeah,
hazmat
well-
level. Is that right?
They will be
They'll
the
get trained up.
technician's course. They have to do the awareness of the operations and then the technician. They will go, and then we send everybody to Anniston for the WMD.
Minutes late.
Yeah.
Every time.
So it's just like EMS classes. It's time consent, takes time.
Is there a 413 call that goes up?
No, we actually had it 4:11 when I was supposed to come in, but it's a couple minutes late getting the call. We knew you were speaking at the time. So,
All right, if there's nothing else on this one, thank you for that.
Thank you, Ben.
And yeah, I think a dinner conversation about how do we, that is departments that have a hard time retaining and attracting and just generally, but understanding there's no one answer. Public Works and Environmental Services.
Public Works, I'm Earl Labonte, Public Works Director. We're split up into 3 different parts during this training session. We actually have 5 different divisions, so total budget's over pretty near $4 million if you put it all together. Some of our, one of these misconceptions is that we're a construction outfit and we're not. Public Works is maintainers, maintaining what we have and trying to keep it up.
It's a good way to put it. Thank you.
A lot of people think we should go out and do complete projects. We're not staffed for that, nor are we equipped for that. Another problem we have is getting qualified people. Most of our people require CDLs. CDL operators kind of hard to get, especially now that you have the liberal marijuana policies in the state. They can't hold a CDL and use marijuana. They'll be disqualified and their licenses will be pulled if they have a bad test. So that limits who we can get. As far as the shop, it's very small. One of the goals is to get everybody cross-trained so they can work throughout. And we're progressing quite well on that, I believe. We do have kind of a young shop, the newer guys coming in. The older people don't want to work anymore. Most of them want to retire and leave. I was opposite. I came back from retirement. But it is hard to get people to come in. We do have a vacancy right now that we're trying to get filled. And trying to make sure everybody understands what our purpose is kind of difficult too. I'm gonna let Megan and Scott go over their parts of their divisions on their own. And I think that's basically it. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
Thanks, Earl. Thank you.
Clint, is now a good time to touch on Brightly's?
Sure,
Mine.
sure.
Before we flip the page, the third goal here is talking about Brightly, which is an asset management program that we're starting to implement, with all the different departments. So that'll help with work orders when things get sent around to different departments and just making sure we stay on task. So that's a big goal of mine this winter, working on that data and putting it in there. As far as environmental, my name's Megan and I was hired 4 years ago upon the creation of this position. So the position was schemed up that the environmentalists would work with all the different departments and kind of help them out with any environmental tasks. So for example, you know, helping the police department get their DEP permit so that the shooting range could be improved. Different stormwater stuff when there's a car accident and fire department calls with any oil spills or antifreeze spills, I have to document that for stormwater. So it's a really integrated position within public works. I oversee waste management, so the landfill operations, trash and recycling collection, stormwater management, like I said, and our permit that we have for the town. As town councilors, you will see a training on that, the MS4 permit. And then climate action planning for the Bangor region. So I work with a couple other people in Bangor for more of a widespread climate action planning as well as town of Orono individual planning. And then one that I'm probably most excited about is land management. So working along the Parks and Rec director as well, and looking at Webster Park, looking at some of the trails and cleaning up some of those invasive species. So that's a really, really fun part of my job. It does say environmental services, party of one, but that's very misleading because I think more than half of the public works employees actually complete the projects that I scheme up. So, or that residents want done. I mean, they're really the doers that go and do it. I just get the permits to help it through. So that should be noted.
And I think that I would just add, not gonna do this a lot with many of them, but I think a lot of times people, it's a newer role. It's not a career that's existed for hundreds of years, and people say, oh, the fire chief, I know what you do. You know, environmental services can be misleading to the people on the street. You know, an MS4 permit is a real problem for Orono to make sure we adhere to it, that our stormwater runoff isn't polluting or doing things it shouldn't be doing, and that we have good rules in place. The amount of work and coordination it takes is significant. But again, it doesn't underlie too that she oversees solid waste, trash. Those are large contracts. It takes a team. Somebody else would have to be delegated to do it. They might just be called, solid waste manager. And this just happens to be the environmental services department. So yeah, when you're hearing those, there's a lot more to it. And again, I think Orono was a community decades ago, kind of set a path forward that this would be a way of something it would needs, whether it's the cooperations with the Orono Land Trust, having so many public waters and wanting to maintain our parks and trails in a way that's cohesive and meets the needs of the community. It really does bring it all together. So it's a great position and very forward thinking, I think 4 years ago, but definitely serves many, many roles.
Did someone say grants? Are you the person that coordinates all the grants for all the departments, or more just on the?
No, I don't.
We utilize her as.
I like writing grants.
Yeah.
I find it challenging and I don't know, I like it.
I think that's in
It's-
my report.
yeah.
Did somebody say grants? I think is one of the jokes I made about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to prove once in a while that I read the stuff. So.
I do like.
That
writing
joke in
grants.
there anywhere?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarah?
Megan, I was looking at your first goal and talking about stormwater and the last part about permanent create a sustainable funding source. I thought I remembered that at least last year sometime we had a presentation on council about that involved talking about whether there would be a user fee potential option for stormwater. Is that something we'll hear back about again, or is that off the table? I don't know, I just wanted an update on where we were at with that.
Yeah, it's a stormwater utility fee.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a touchy subject because it is another fee for residents, right? So, yeah, it's not linked to taxes, but it also is, it would be considered the same thing as a wastewater fee or something like that. So, I think it's a great thing to look at and see if it makes sense for Orono because you do have surrounding communities that have them. it's also more of a sustainable source because then you now have your pot of money that you can upgrade your storm sewer systems. And I think Orono as a community does care a lot about the river and the quality of the river to do all of those recreational activities. So yes, I would like, that's one of my main goals is to get that. Right now, we're working on a fiscal sustainability plan, so that will outline how much work actually needs to be done on the stormwater system. And once we do that, then we can talk about a utility fee and see what that rate would even be.
If I remember right, it said, no, if I remember right, it had like incentives built in for people to not
Absolutely.
cover land with things that weren't permeable, right? So people's fees could get lower if they, design their yard and space accordingly, right?
Exactly.
Businesses or homeowners, right? Okay.
Yeah, so it's calculated based on impervious surface, so how much driveway you have, roof you have, but if you install a rain garden or a rain barrel or something that shows that you're trying to reduce runoff, you can get your incentive and get a lower rate. Yep.
My other question was just on the invasives removal, which I've just heard so much positive feedback from the community. So thanks to all the public works people and to Megan involved in that. I know you said it can be challenging because it's a lot of hours, and I know you get a ton of volunteers for a lot of things. Is there anything that council can do or to be helpful to you about getting even more volunteers in communities to help you get the invasive species work done that you want to do?
I'm sure. Something that comes to mind would be like the river trail. So right now we're starting on that at Brownies Park, and then we're gonna be moving towards downtown this winter. So that's gonna be a very visible thing that a lot of people are gonna see, but a nice thing would be extending towards the cemetery, and a lot of that is private property. So whether, and maybe it's just, Public Works hosts a informational session for landowners that says, hey, this is how we took care of it, this is how you can take care of it, and here are some grants that you could apply for to have it paid for, because really having that continuous kind of treatment is what is gonna help it from not just spreading right back onto the land. So I think getting the word out about things like that, educational events we should do in the spring, that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Facilities?
Facilities, yeah, we do, take care of, 6 of the 7 buildings in the town. We do the cleaning, maintenance on it. Says we have 3 guys, but we've only had 2 for the pretty much last year. We do have another one starting, mid-December. So we should be fully staffed again. We do a lot of work with all the departments. Work with both Megans a lot. Work doing stuff at the pool. And we got talking about grants. Megan worked on a grant for the energy
Climate action grant
Yeah,
for your
climate action.
energy efficiencies.
We just got water heaters, new hybrid water heaters installed in four buildings. Programmable thermostat, fit new doors on Keith Anderson building. A lot of that was through that grant money. There's a lot of other things we could do. More upgrades with the heating and cooling. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much what we do.
What's the 7th building that facilities doesn't?
Chris, the treatment plant, they pretty much do their own.
Sounds like the fire department's taking care of he can get cleaning up after Tom. I bet they don't want to clean up after Tom. Yeah. Okay, any clarifying questions? Yep, excellent. How are we doing on time? Doing all right?
Yeah, no, okay. We
Dan,
can
I still
improve.
have one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good, yeah.
I just wanted to ask on this last one where we're talking about the HVAC systems, which we've been hearing about a lot on council since I came on a few years ago, that they're gonna fail, that they're past their life. And I was looking back at Earl's report in the last bullet point 2 about really developing strategies to replace vehicles and equipment and dealing with the long delivery times and costs. And I'm aware that one of the things council can do to help with these is to really focus in on the capital improvement program to make sure it's really developed well each year and then that it's funded as it needs to be going forward. But I just want to ask, is there anything else from council, either to Clint or to these folks around these long-term capital needs that council should be focused on or thinking about, you know, already as we're going into our capital improvement program that we can do to be helpful?
Well, the big one is you did it because you allowed us buy Brightly and do a facilities assessment.
Okay.
And that's gonna tag it. So that's the big step 1. Step 2, when we come back and tell you what needs to be done, we're gonna have to start doing it. I mean, and that's gonna take a year.
Yeah, okay.
We're a year from really getting the meats and bones to everything we got. But yeah, that's, and again, what that priority is, we're curious. I mean, that's, again, last night, now mind saying we had that, nice question. Birch Street School, we're gonna work that in. It's always been on the mind too, what we can do there. But it's gotta fit in with everything, and then we gotta start figuring out what the priorities are. Expansion versus maintenance versus critical maintenance versus wish lists. So keep you posted.
Thank you.
So we really set you up so you could set us up, request it. So-
Oh, yeah, everything's a theme up here.
Yeah, I know how it works.
Perfect.
Line it all up. All right, I think we're up to water pollution control facility.
So wastewater treatment, we use roughly 24 miles of pipe and 4 pump stations to move right now a little over 1 million gallons a day to the plant at 60 Broadway for treatment. It's a biological process that is done biologically without chemicals. We have a small lab at the plant. It serves 2 purposes. Number one, we do a lot of testing on the water that's discharged to the river to demonstrate that we're in compliance with the EPA standards on the Clean Water Act. And we also use that lab to test the water that's within treatment to see that where we are in levels of treatment. If it's not what we like, we use that data to make changes. So those are tests that are done 7 days a week. The weekends is abbreviated a little bit, it's not so much as the same as on the weekdays. The biological process of cleaning wastewater produces sludge. We have to take that out every day. So we've talked about that a lot. Build some more. But we have staff that they did it today, they'll do it tomorrow, and they'll do it Thursday. We do all our own maintenance. We have an in-house maintenance personnel. The only thing we don't do is electrical because we don't have a licensed electrician. Other than that, we do just about everything ourselves in-house. And then we have staff that cleans that 24 miles of pipe. We try to do as much as we can each year. Sometimes it's more than others, depending on staff, and weather. Yeah, so we do that with 5 people. I'm full staff right now. I don't have any openings, although we did operate with 6.5 at one time, so that's challenging. But we're looking forward to the goals that you see listed in the narrative. The dewatering. When we did a dewatering upgrade before, that revolutionized dewatering for WPCF. And this will do it again. Just the technology's better now than it was then, and back then it was better than it was in 1950.
Does that mean taking water out of the sludge? Is that what?
Right.
Yeah.
The sludge that we produce starts at like 1%, so it's just liquid. And then we have processes in-house where we thicken it. And then we thicken it even more, bring it to dewatering. It's called dewatering, but with our sludge right now, we get it 12%. So we're still 87% water.
That's heavy,
We
right?
take to the landfill to bury is
87% of it's water. Wow.
at $90 a ton.
Yeah.
So, dewatering, dry sludge, there's savings there.
Yeah.
And the other big goal for us is Route 2. The sewer line in Route 2 is something that the town has They've kicked the can down the road for a long time on that. They haven't ignored it. They've just, well, this pipe over here on the dead end street, that's bad too, so let's fix that one. But he wanted to touch this. It's gonna be pretty disruptive to the town of Orono.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. That bridge is over 100 years old.
Yeah. But here's a
And
good
it's not
dad
just a
joke.
pipe on Main Street. This pipe carries Sunset, Page Place, Sailor Development, Spencer, Westwood, the high school. That Main Street line carries all of that. And it has some serious issues. It has for quite some time.
Is it, when are you gonna start ripping the road up?
Well, you have to approve a bond first.
That's on us.
If all goes well, next year,
Well, we'd like to put it out to bid.
For the summer of 26 or for?
it's ready to go to bid as soon as we get the funding.
The design is
You might be able to start.
99% complete.
Yep, 90, yeah.
Which would mean you might be able to start summer of.
There'd probably be some mobilization next summer. And,
Yeah,
but
I mean, if we put it out to bid, before the end of the year,
The end of this,
which is ideal.
end of the fiscal year or end of the calendar year?
End of the calendar year,
So before the end of
December.
December.
put it out to bid. And we could be entertaining bids that may want to start for the spring of
If you
20.
go too late, contractors are looking for work in the winter.
Yeah.
For next season. If that happened again, we stuff out to bid at March and everybody's busy and nobody bids on it.
You got 2 summers to do it. Because if the CDS funding, and again, doesn't come way into it, but it hits the bottom end of it. So we would like to make sure the sewer from Goodridge to Pine is all done and where we need it to be, so that by the time we do the Route 2 project, they're putting good stuff on top of good stuff.
When I say Main Street line, it's actually 2 segments. One is from Pine, just past Hamlin.
Yeah.
And the other one is from Gilbert to Sunset. So there's a gap there where there is no pipe.
This will be a fun one to talk, maybe in the ones that you,
Main Street, such as him.
I don't have a pipe.
No, you go at the back door.
I have like 101 feet.
You go out.
Sewer
Out
goes
the
down.
house towards Marge's pond,
Yeah.
as well as some of his neighbors. It's just the way the elevations work. They'd have to
That
blow
hill.
uphill to get to Main Street.
Don't you think it would be a better idea to wait a couple of years until Andrea and John are up for re-election as opposed to this year when, Sarah and I are up for re-election, if we choose to run?
well, we wait till the year fails and see everybody.
Yeah, I see.
you know.
Get there, voted off the cuff. I think it's a remarkably important project. And so we're gonna get some direction from us very soon, it strikes me that there was, some hope that we could really couple it with a ambitious Route 2 project, surface project, and it's just not gonna be.
Yeah, that would have been ideal. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
But that's, big names, how they operate.
Yeah.
Can we, one clarifier, if you want, I think we could add this more to talk more about the sewer and Route 2, but a clarifier, and I think help everybody, especially the council, and I'd love to hear it again. We are currently a class 4 facility, right?
Yes.
And you are licensed at
Our plant is licensed as a grade 4.
Grade
It's
4.
going to change to a grade 5. I've been told that. They're in the process of writing our new license. And they've already told me that is a change that we'll see.
What's that?
What does that mean?
It means that we need to do some succession planning on operators as well.
It means it'll be harder to find somebody to run the plant once I leave.
So you've upgraded us, you've taken us from a 4 to a 5,
I see.
so that means you're gonna be harder to replace when you go. But we're doing better.
I shouldn't say that, there's not. If you're a grade 5 operator, you're working. So
Yep.
you'll steal one from another plant,
Yeah,
if that.
but does that mean we're putting a cleaner product out into the river and?
Oh, it has to do with complexity of treatment. So when we had our upgrade, we added nutrient removal processes that weren't there when they built the plant.
Yeah.
So because of that level of complexity, it's a more complex plant, so it's a higher grade.
Yeah.
They just did it this year, or they're doing it right now with this license. We've made that change in 08, so Yes, we've been operating a grade 5 plant with a grade 4 operator since '08.
Okay.
So it's just things we're looking at as we look at the training schedules and what they're doing. It's one of the things they're working on.
Yeah.
We do have an operator that's a grade 3 that's eligible to take his 5. You do have to have some criteria to sit for the test. He doesn't show some real interest right now as wanting to get it and move up. That might change.
Okay.
I'm working on him.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of communication to do with the community about, I mean, you know, how people took issue with the bridge construction. There's kind of a little test run for you.
They're gonna
And
wish they had the bridge back once we start.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, my friend. And
Simple detour.
I got a mountain bike, so I'm gonna be fine. I can get anywhere in Orono, you know, all I gotta do is
Some
cross.
things that we can do that will.
Well, there'll be two-way traffic.
Not so bad. This concrete underneath that asphalt, 8 inches of it with rebar.
Yeah,
So, you know, we can do stuff like require the contractor to cut it
yeah,
and not pound it with a ledge pick all day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Might be a little less rattling for the neighbors.
yeah, but then we're gonna have to communicate.
We don't have to ask. We can require that it be done that way.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to communicate pretty aggressively in terms of giving people advance notice. We don't want anybody surprised about this and,
Can do.
yep.
We just closed the school.
reform.
That'll be good. Chris, can you just tell me, this is a really simple clarifying question. What is CSO? I'm not great at acronyms and I don't know what this one means.
SSO.
It says CSO here in a couple
CSO
of
is
different
a
spots.
combined sewer overflow. Yeah, I don't know, the lettering got mixed up in one of my boxes. I don't know what happened. CSO is combined sewer overflow, which is a situation where the plant is seeing more water than it can treat. That will result in the plant washing out. At any given time, we usually have 10,000 pounds of solids in the plant. So that will basically go to the river in a real quick hurry.
That makes me.
So we
And it doesn't.
shed those flows before they reach the plant. We bypass them to the river untreated, and a license to do that.
Oh.
But at the same time that they gave plants licenses to do that, they also said, fix your pipes so they don't take in so much water.
And that's where we got some other projects where we look around town where we want to see other upgrades.
And can you also tell me, sorry,
Nope, you're good.
also, when it says interceptor sewers, what is an interceptor sewer?
So, all the sewer lines, as you go along, they get bigger and bigger because there's more and more on them. The interceptors are the last on the line, so. Our 2 big ones are on both sides of the river, right at the riverbank. And, you know, you gotta think of it like all of the pipes in Orono at one time all went to the river.
Right.
And when they built the plant, they also built at the same time these 2 pipes. One goes from the plant on this side of the river to the water company, and the other one goes to the steam plant. And when they put those lines in, every time they came to a pipe that went to the river, they connected it into that pipe. So those, by design, need to be the largest pipes in town. So the interceptor sewers, they're kind of a quiet little animal that nobody knows about. They don't plug as easy as other lines because they're so big, but when they do plug, it'll be not just a few homes on the street, it'll be a few neighborhoods in the town that don't drain. Those pipes have not seen any maintenance since they were put in.
Which was when?
0. With the exception of one small area on the Stillwater interceptor, this side of the river. The other one is referred to as the University interceptor. That had a piece that was lined years ago, maybe like 800 feet. Because we had no choice. It was a catastrophic failure. And to be honest with you, I don't know what the others look like. That's my 3rd goal, is to have those evaluated. That alone will take a couple of years and it'll have to be outsourced. Got some feelers out on that right now.
What's the age again?
Those were put in 67, 68.
Thanks, this is for the Clean Water Act, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am sorry, but I am gonna have to go. I have to work. I so highly value the work that everybody here does. And I'm sorry I can't stay for the rest of the presentations and the dinner, but.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
Gotta go. Okay.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Anybody have anything?
This one will go quick.
Yep.
This one's pretty quick.
Community development, assessing and planning.
So I will go quick. I finished talking, but from just a quick overview, you look at the number of employees there and it's changed a little bit over time. And obviously last night you approved adding an employee to this, which has kind of changed the structure a little bit. But we have a program coordinator, we have a code officer, we have an economic development director, which is currently me. You had a planner that was contracted and you have a contracted assessor. The new role of planning and economic development is going to come in to fill the planning role, which was about a 20-hour a week. If you think about what that contracted planner was doing, and then some economic development on the backside too. Obviously, you know, one of the big things is now in that department, and I'm gonna remove the assessor for a quick moment because it's a little different, but planning, economic development and code kind of work a little bit in concert there. And come December 1st, the longest standing person in that department will be 6 months. So the biggest thing here is to bring everybody up to speed and learning. It's a great opportunity for us. At the same time, we are doing a kind of a review of the code enforcement operations and staffing levels. And it's an opportunity for us to kind of reinvent how we do work in those departments and to become more efficient and to kind of look at where are we falling down, but also are there ordinances or are there things that are outdated that we need to work on? This isn't combined with a comp plan that is just going to get finished and have to implement. So when we look at how we operate, it's going to change. You may see us coming back with bigger projects that may need some more specific planning help from a outside group that can look at you know, rewriting ordinances or implementing some of that stuff. I think you know, the information that's here, obviously, I think my big goal for this department over the year is to get everybody trained and get everybody on the same page moving forward. I would like to add that, you know, with community and economic development, last night, council was talking about the 360 survey, and there was a little bit of a disappointment around housing and economic development goals. And I don't mean that in disappointment in that you feel like we didn't do anything wrong. What I would say to you is that I looked back at some of our bigger projects. These projects take 4 years, 5 years. You look at Zach Pike, which is still about to open. It's about a 3.5-year project. You look at Tyler Technology, probably about a 3-year project from planning board to opening. But 2 years prior to that, I was having conversations with them about where they might want to go in town. So I think that understanding those realistic goals, that they take time, right? And I will also say that between Clint and I, we had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about a lot of different things. And that's the other challenge when you talk about economic development is you have a lot of conversations that don't pan out for one reason or another. And you can spend a month, 2 months dealing with somebody and then all of a sudden they just disappear. So I put that in perspective for you guys so that you understand that although these are goals, we are working on them. And the other thing is you're laying the groundwork. We can also know that we do this, they disappear, and then all of a sudden we get a phone call, we bought this piece of property and we're ready to go. And you're like, what? Where did that come from? So laying that groundwork is really important. The only other thing I will mention about this is understanding that I know people are excited about EJ coming on board because of his vast experience with economic development, and we're excited about that as well. That planning function is as important, which he's going to have to come up to speed. So there, you know, there's going to be a lot of work there. And we want to come up to speed and get that going. But clearly our number one goal is to continue to follow what the goals of the council are and trying to make those happen. The last piece I would talk about is assessing. Assessing is kind of a beast on its own because realistically, our assessor is the one that sets the value, and that is a very challenging and complex thing in this world, which every day the housing values are changing, and we're chasing the real value of homes right now because the prices are going up so quickly. So that's one of the biggest goals for us moving forward with assessing.
Yep. I'm gonna add, Mark just shared one thing that was kind of good on this, on the assessing standpoint. As you remember, we always talk, and there's days of training we could do this, but the certified ratio is if we're maintaining 100%. We try to work hard to that. We do some across the board bumps. What's interesting is we are maintaining. Maintaining means we're up to speed with the state. The state is 2 years behind. That is the intentional way that works. So a lot of times people are looking at their houses, and we talked about this recently, but you know, I'm seeing countless houses that are hitting the market right now at 350,000. And then you pull up their assessing record and we're sitting at 225. Well, that doesn't mean anything's wrong necessarily, but it does mean that we're watching that and monitoring the sale so that we know what to adjust for the next 2 years. Right now, our biggest challenge is equity. Is everything fair? And we did you had Vision come in here. They provided a service at a very difficult time. And we've ended up with some things that the assessors had to adjust and correct for and review. So I mean, assessing's, it's the key to it all, but again, it's just a lot of work to maintain it, and it's not an exact science as much as they may tell you it is. It's based upon sales ratios and statistical analysis of those and market analysis of what your market can bear. So, and then commercial compared to residential is like comparing apples and oranges, but they both have to be assessed equitably in your town. So he does a lot of balancing on that.
Yep. Any clarifying, thanks.
Mhm.
So you both, any clarifying questions from anybody? I would say when we were talking about that last night, I mean, I think the 360 stuff, and I think the word we used was tangible, you know, we wanted to have, and I think that was probably a mistake in our goal setting as we now come and have this learning, understand how long projects take. And I was joking with EJ about it in terms of, you know, we want to cut some ribbons, and of course, I'm always, you know, there's always like a bias towards getting things done that you can celebrate as a community. And when we set our goals as a council later in this conversation, we've got to be mindful of just how long those things kind of take. So thanks for that. Is the library next? Yep. I switched to a different.
I think that I neglected to put down how many employees we have. We have a total of 9, 3 full-time, 3 part-time, and 3 substitutes. It doesn't include the 6 to 8 daily volunteers that we have who come in and help with shelving and the delivery. That is pretty important to many of our patrons. So one of our major goals, of course, is the expansion project that I continue to work on with the foundation, the architect, and the campaign manager. And that's where Lindsay comes in. A lot of my time right now is taken up with meetings around the expansion, and Lindsay's taken on a lot of the daily operations, which is a huge help. I need to start working with Public Works, with Scott, to identify some of the budgetary needs that we're going to be seeing in the future when the project is completed. And we also need to start looking at staffing needs when we have a building that's twice the size. So you'll be getting an update from James Jackson Sanborn, the president of the foundation, on December 15th at your council meeting. But happy to try and answer any questions that you might have at this point. So we also look at services. We have great services. Our programming is wonderful, especially for young kids. I often have to remind staff that even though there's a new program on the line that they want to do, we don't necessarily have the resources because we're at capacity with the staff that we have. So we're also starting to see an interesting shift in what patrons are using as far as formats. Of course, we have print format, but we also have downloadable audio and ebooks and movies. So we can look at a patron record and it looks like they're not using their card at all, but they actually are, because they're at home using online services. So it is a shift that is really starting to kind of creep up on us. Another challenge that we have is, you've probably all heard about the federal cuts through Institute of Museum and Library Services. That does not directly affect us, but it affects the state library. And we get a lot of services through the state library. We're part of a consortium, the Minerva Consortium, that helps with our interlibrary loan. That service has increased our subscription. You know, we pay a membership to it every year. It's increased 45% since 2020. And the cost of delivery, we get daily deliveries of books from other libraries. There are about 70 other libraries in the system. That's gone up 93% in 2 years, since 2023. So that in turn makes our budget more as well. So that was just kind of a quick version of what's going on for us and happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Matt, you opened your mouth. Does it see on?
It was the same.
I try to be very intuitive to what Matt needs.
Well, I mean, obviously we have to increase the ukulele budget.
Yeah. On the December, I'm really excited to hear from James on December 15th. Will that be a point where we are communicating to the community, like calendar wise, when we think we're gonna?
So it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
So right now with the fundraising, we're at, what we have left to raise is $1.3 million. So of an $8.6 million project, we have 1.3 left to go. Our campaign manager wants us to only have 200,000 left to raise before we open it to the public. I'm pushing back on that and hoping that at least by 500,000. I mean, the community really wants to hear about this.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for staff to get questions across the desk.
Worst kept secret.
Worst kept secret. I know. Part of it is what we're doing right now is we're approaching major donors with the opportunity to name spaces within the library. We had to take a pause because there's been kind of a major redesign that we took on between April and just a few weeks ago. So going to a donor and telling them we don't really know what the library's gonna look like wasn't really a smart move. So we've taken a pause with that. The volunteer solicitors are out there now talking to major donors again. And we're hopeful that we start, bringing in some major funds again. Then Alicia Nichols is our campaign manager. She's gonna be looking at grants once we hit the 90%. We're at 85% right now. So when we're at 90%, she'll start looking at grant opportunities, including Stephen King. Everybody asks about Stephen King. There are two times that one can apply for a Stephen King grant. That's in April and October. We've obviously mixed the October one, so we will apply in April. And he will give $50,000 to any library that is building or expanding. So that's the anticipated number. We have thought, since we're Orono and he went to school here, that he might give a little more, but we really think he probably had a run-in with when he was here.
More than one, if you've read his stuff, right?
Can we change the procedures manual so we can issue a pardon to Stephen King?
There you go.
I think that'd be a nice little,
Can do.
yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
So I will also say, if you're curious, before the 15th to see what the new layout looks like, the foundation website has the information on it.
Okay, excellent.
And we were looking early December, but with all the bonding and all the workshops, it felt like a confusing meeting to have so much at that same one, so we pushed them to the 15th. So, yeah.
And as far as timing goes, we're still on track, hopefully to break ground in somewhere between May and September next year.
2026.
Of 2026. Okay. And then what we're hearing is the construction time is a year to year and a half.
So remember that 80-20 thing from last year? Try 95-5. You got huge projects.
Just because your 360 evaluation was better than ours, doesn't mean you get to, push us around. Like that. Yeah.
Well, since you did.
Yeah. I can count. All right. Anybody have any more questions about the library? All right. Thank you for all you do. Parks and Rec?
So the Parks and Rec Department, there are two of us. There's myself and we have the coordinator. His name's Niall. We manage youth activities, the lands and trails, and public events. As if I were to do an elevator pitch in my department, those would be my three key points there. We manage a whole lot with a whole little. Operate here out of the town office. My office is downstairs. We share space with the school to try and get some indoor things happening, and organizations like the Little League use our space during the spring. So we try and do the very most we can with the resources we have. Part of the goals and the challenges you have in front of you, I think a goal I'm very excited about is the Orono Festival Days, kind of returning to the staff side of things. To be able to have a larger part in that is really, really exciting. challenges continue to be the limited resources. I think the community is very excited about rec in general, both passive recreation and active recreation opportunities, and it's not always feasible to meet all of those requests or demands. So that's always challenging. Another goal and challenge you'll see that you probably have seen for counselors who have been part of us or part of the system and the budget process the past few years is we continue to work on our trail systems. We have 3 large properties, which our trail systems mainly are comprised of, and keeping those maintained while balancing the kind of the environment and things around those trails is an ongoing project, and will continue to be for some time. To do massive work on trails takes a lot of resource and a lot of time, so it tends to be done in smaller chunks throughout a long. The other big thing I wanted to mention is, although we do a lot, we also work very closely with volunteers. We have a huge volunteer group that comes out for things like hanging lights on the Stillwater Trail, things like coaching teams, and we couldn't do all the things we do without the community support and volunteerism. Point I wanted to make.
Every time I fall on one of your trails off my bike or just walking my dog, I don't blame you at all. I want you to know that it's user error. It's not maintenance. So. What about this kiddie pool?
Yeah, so that is on the goals there. So as a lot of you know, the pool it had issues with the gutter system. We have new gutters and a new liner at the pool. That current system does not speak to the kiddie pool. So if we are looking to have something in that space, we do need a significant amount of infrastructure to make that happen. So although there is not a formal plan I have today to present for you, a very short synopsis of the options are: return it to how it was, which I would advise against as your director, pave it and save it for another time, or at least get rid of the eyesore that it is, or turn it into a new amenity. Those are a very brief.
Capital improvement
I like
programs
option
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the pool had a phenomenal season. I mean, I'm still fairly new to Orono and I don't have, but I mean, it's just, people were there all the time. People were having a great time. And I think you give people a lot of breaks before you kick them out all day long. There's like 9 things you have to do to get kicked out for the day. And it's an impressive list.
We try to make that short. We do it's coming back. And we had a wonderful supportive guard staff. I hired a guard staff the year prior, only to find that there was problems with the machinery of the pool. That guard staff stayed. We worked very hard to keep them busy through the summer. That paid in spades when we went to open this year, and every single one of those kids wanted to be here and wanted to be back, even though they didn't really get what was promised to them the year before. So that was really exciting to see. And I got a lot of great feedback from staff, and anecdotally, I am expecting most of them to return again. So that's wonderful. Yeah.
And we're still, BYOB is not actually a thing.
That is not a thing. Nope.
Thank you for helping enforce that policy. That's the one rule you can kind of. Any questions about?
I was wondering, you've got the two staff that are kind of a record. What kind of numbers are there for seasonal and volunteer, like roughly? Because I would imagine it's for just the two of you, one of our bigger pools of seasonal and volunteer.
Absolutely. So those two are the full-time staff members. Those FTEs is what you'll see them referred to sometimes. We had 17 employees for the pool. That was 16 lifeguards and 1 pool manager. All of them are part-time, although our pool manager does get she works as often as she can. The volunteer base, if there's 2 teams of each age group at the least sports, we have at least 1 adult coach for all of those sports teams. Orono is very fortunate. You'll talk to other rec communities, they struggle with coaching volunteers. We often have buddies for a lot of our teams, or both parents of an individual are interested in helping and supporting in that way. So we do comparatively, I think to some other towns, we do a lot to support those individuals, and I think that shows, seeing that I am not overly stressed in terms of asking for coaches or worried about coaches coming back. That seems to fall into place easily here. There, like the events that we do, like trunk or treat, like the Stillwater Lights where I ask for volunteers, that ranges between like 30 and 50 for each of those events, I would say, in town. So that was a rough estimate.
So, and to just build on that one, so you and Niall pull off the RAD program on your own?
So good, yes, thank you. So
A couple others.
yes, it's listed here. The University of Maine is a huge partner that we have. They support us through a contracted service that supports the RAD summer and RAD after school programs. They manage that staff there. I manage that contract and those expectations of that staff.
And then the other things you depend upon, like, how long does it take you and Niall to mow Webster Park?
Yes, our public works department. The way I have described some of the parks and the facilities such as Keith Anderson is I manage the happenings. So the fact that soccer is on the park, that's me. The fact that the park is maintained is public works. The fact that someone can rent Keith Anderson is through me. The fact that it's clean and available to use is facilities, so.
So yeah, just a lot of balance and probably one of the more coordinated departments, I would say, of the town, that they have to work with so many of the others to pull off so many things because of the size. Cool.
Excellent. Thank you. We end up finance?
Yep.
Finance.
I'll try to keep it short because we're the Department of Numbers rather than words.
That's it. Okay.
That's all.
I'm gonna handle the jokes. Me and Quinn are gonna handle the jokes from this end of the table. That was a
So
good
we've
one.
got 3 employees, myself, a payroll and benefits clerk, and a staff accountant. We've absorbed quite a few things in the last few years, in addition to building your lovely budget binders. We also manage payroll and benefits, do quite a bit of work with various insurance policies, property casualty, workers' comp. Capital asset listings, we do a lot of that. So a lot of what has kind of been our goals in the past year and going forward is improving our reporting, getting more efficient as we work through these tasks. Grants has kind of been scattered into different departments, and we're trying to absorb a lot of that into finance just to get a better handle on it, get better reporting. The auditors tend to do a deep dive into grants every year, so it kind of made sense to pull it more into finance, just so we have everything more available, so I'm not calling Megan and Dan and everybody else looking for grant paperwork. We're heavily involved in some of the grant reimbursement requests and reporting for SAFER. So that tends to keep us pretty busy. Probably our biggest challenge is, and it seems like we beat up on them all the time, is Trio, our accounting software. It's not just because they're an easy target, I promise. Then the last 2 fiscal years, we've had significant issues that have kind of really upset the apple cart and caused a lot of work. The struggle we have with Trio is, I like to use a car analogy for it, is Trio is kind of like the old Honda Civic. It gets you there 80% of the time, it breaks down on occasion. But if you try to replace it, you've kind of got to buy a Rolls Royce, just on the cost of switching softwares. That's why we keep Trio and we continue to beat up on it. So that's just a quick kind of overview of the day-to-day of the finance, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or if I've missed anything, Clint, feel free to jump in.
Nailed it. Great work.
Any questions? You like the budget calendar that I assume you do?
I'll make it work.
Yeah. I think you've done Zach, I think you've done a phenomenal job. You've had 3 different managers in 3 years, and I think you've done a phenomenal job. You've had a lot of new counselors to educate. We talk about we're starting to get some institutional knowledge on the council now, but I think you've done a phenomenal job, and I just wanted to say that out loud, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I've been right there learning along with you guys, so.
I wanted to ask the acronyms at the bottom about time to implement system issues and some letters that are new systems, I guess, or existing systems. Are these ones we've owned for a while, or are they ones we just purchased this year? What are they?
So MMEHD is the Maine Municipal Employees Health Trust. They are our health insurance provider. They have been a very manual, very paper process up until just recently. They finally implemented an electronic billing system. Where we can hopefully export more information and pull reports electronically rather than getting a big packet of papers in the mail that we have to manually type in to work with. So I haven't had a lot of time to play with it, but I'm hopeful that their new system will allow us to save some time and get quicker on our reconciliations.
And ADP.
ADP is our payroll software. We've
Got
had
it.
that for quite a while.
Okay.
It's been our software as long as we've been here, as long as I've been here, I mean, and we've been working through some issues with them as well. Just seems to be the years of software issues, but overall, they're a pretty solid software, and we've been working to improve and streamline and fully, I don't wanna say we don't get our money's worth out of it, to fully optimize our use of the software has been kind of an ongoing project and goal for us.
Okay, so these are like improving and streamlining, not new systems that we.
Yep, just improving our existing
Got it.
systems.
Thanks.
And ADP, we are looking at some expansions we'll talk about in the budget, because there are some things that it could do to maybe streamline HR and tracking and documentation that is never enough, I guess is the way to say it.
It's always nice when that quarterly AD, we get paid quarterly, right, the counselors, so it's, oh, look at that.
$12.
You know, and I think one thing, you know, when you talk about payroll and the finance department and different things, you know, you look at this like if a business, when you got QuickBooks,
Yeah,
they do such a great job with that business's entity and great reports, great documents. But again, you got to look at what Trio's doing. And what we do for payroll is Zach gets to oversee about 10 businesses.
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone with unique needs, unique staffing, unique schedules, unique payrolls, unique overtime, you name it, contracts. It's different. It's not harder, it's not easier, it's just different. So, a lot to be said for that.
I think council compensation's in the charter, so if you want to change it.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's not.
I'm not gonna vote for it, yeah. All right. Hey there,
Hi,
how you doing?
I'm good.
Town clerk time.
So counting myself, there is a total of 4 employees in the town clerk's office. And basically, I look at our department like the emergency room of the town. We have to be flexible and adaptable in order to meet the needs and the challenges of each day. I try to plan ahead and organize and have things ready to go, but we never know what's coming through the front door. And as you know, the clerk's office downstairs is very diverse in all of the different functions that we support and or we help administer in the background. I like to explain my department as the front of the house, and Zach's department is the back of the house. When you talk about your fiscal management, the cash coming in, the cash going out. I also like to explain that we are like the best friend that the community didn't know they needed, because we are the one department of the town that provides a non-biased, open, transparent service so that they can get the state and federal advocacy or resources that they're entitled to. And so the weight of what is done downstairs and managed at times can be heavy, but because of our partnerships, our volunteer efforts, and our relationships across departments, we're able to manage what comes at us on a day-to-day basis. I will say that I did teach today clerks from all over New England. And when I listened to the stories and the challenges around New England, I figured out that Orono really is a special kind of place. And that is because of the university. The university offers a very unique experience for Orono's community, but it also presents its own challenges. And having said that, the clerk's office downstairs is dealing with issues that even the state doesn't deal with because of the role of the university. And so I see Orono being a leader in an education in municipal clerk experience and training. And that is why one of my goals has been that downstairs we will be the go-to, or we will help facilitate the training across the state in order to ensure that people are in a better place than what they're found in when they walk into their town office. So that's one of my goals. I did outline for you some of my immediate challenges, and having a fairly young staff downstairs, a phenomenal staff that are very quick at learning the material, they are still learning. So, and they are in the beginnings of an 18-month to a 3-year turnaround of being able to understand what happens in a clerk's office. The largest challenge I see over the next year is going to be having to relocate the polling place yet again. And that is because we have already been informed by the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State that November of 26 is a conflict for us to be at the Collins Center because of the perceived perception of who is on the ballot. So I have already started working. For those of you who are questioning, Susan Collins in the name. So I have already begun that process of logistics with the University of Maine so that we can look at alternate locations, and that has happened. But long-term, if I was to predict a 10 to a 20-year cycle for this office and for our elections, I would say that a bigger picture item down the road, not today, but down the road, is going to be what does elections look like and the logistics of location. Because we right now heavily depend on the university to manage a voting list of well over 11,000 people. Okay, so if anybody has questions, certainly I'm open. For the sake of time, I really tried to.
How many registered voters?
Right now, the latest list has hovered right around 9.
Okay.
But on the election that we just had, I don't have an official count, but we're between 800 and 1,000 additions. Yeah, so up until they did the last routine withdrawal of the list, we were actually hovering at 12,600. And we dropped down below 9 when they.
Because we gotta purge so often because of our.
Yes, you are supposed to purge every 9 years.
We, nobody enrolls more new voters than Orono, right? I know you won't say it officially, but I'm gonna.
Well, I sat in a meeting last week where I talked with clerks around the state and they were complaining about registering like 200 voters. And I said, I'm not even gonna say what we've done. Because we're up well over 800 and we're still putting in cards.
Just for this past.
Just for
November.
November.
People really wanted to get in there and vote for John and Andrea.
Yeah. On a presidential election, I register well over 2,000 people in a day. And I only have 45 days with the team and the volunteers to get those in. So I'm proud of the team that we have, and I'm really proud of the program that we've developed with the university.
So you better just cross the demerit forest off your list of election place as well. The same rules apply. And I don't know if there's like a Marks Center for whatever it would be, but. All right.
Yes.
That's a odd.
Ice rink. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
There has been talk of the Alphond, but then of course we're competing against schedules, so.
How about Crossland Hall? Can we do it there? No, too close to home.
Isn't it a dad joke?
Yeah, it's
That's a bad dad.
It's a bad joke.
Yeah.
All right, good. If they get the basketball stadium done in time.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get that done.
No, it's 2 years, I think.
All right, so thank you. Any clarifying questions or? You do good stuff. Thank you. Yep. Got a lot of good Orono spirit in your office. It's nice. All right, the only thing standing between us and the food is the town manager's report.
Yeah, this will be short, and then there's the wrap up through the dinner, but yeah, the town manager's office. It's an honor to work for the council and for every staff member and to bring it all together. That's the key of what we do. The department's kind of reorganized with a manager, community engagement / IT, and then Amanda and assistant who wears a couple hats as well. So that's how you get to the 4. We obviously work with the council. We put you in as part of this department as well. Seeing as how you hire the employee in the department and we coordinate out from there. There's a lot going on. I think with anything you hear, it's just sitting here today reminds you just how many people have new people. How our years of experience is on the shorter side of careers. And we're taking advantage of all the ones with many years of experience to learn as much as we can from them as fast as we can. Because there's a lot of institutional knowledge that we need to make sure we maintain. You know, as I look at the goals, challenges, strengths, you know, this is there. I am honored that I get to share that with you guys all the time as counselors, so you hear a ton from me. I don't want to repeat a lot because I get your ear many, many times a year. The contract I have, I get to speak with you twice about the performance of the town and myself, which is the performance of everybody in every department in here. It's one huge team and it all comes together in very unique and diverse ways every week and then every day. It's just a new relationship or new partnership has to occur because this department's coordinating something very different with another department, or we got a resident request that actually ends up spanning 4 different departments and you can't even see it until you start digging into it and you're trying to figure out how to get the answer to the person. It seems like a simple question. So I know that's, you know, I look at your goals as a big part of what I do and bringing those into a work plan and bringing those back to the staff and then integrating their needs and the town's needs into all that. So that's, I put myself a little bit at the nexus, but I like it. It's a lot of chaos at times, but I appreciate it. I think as we move forward the next year, economic development, you know, and as we look at what we're doing for our budgeting are the 2 biggest things. You know, how are we going to move attainable housing? How are we going to move some more commercial development? Those are long time consuming projects. And I really want to see the annual budget and the capital program take a huge leap forward. Those are the things. And meanwhile, I want all the other departments to continue to excel and move as well as possible with everything they do. I tease, but you know, there's big projects in front of you. If you haven't heard anything in the past hour, listen to all the things that are going on. I mean, $2 million sewer projects, $2 million ladder trucks, $3 million police stations, $8 million libraries. There's a lot going on. And I'm proud of everything they do to make it happen, as you as a council to support it, because it's not easy. And I know you got a lot of public members that have a lot of other ideas of what we should be doing in addition to that. So hopefully we can get through the ones we got to get to the ones that are coming up in the next 5 years after that. And we all get a moment to take a deep breath and enjoy it as we do it, as well as we go along and revel in the successes of all the accomplishments. That's it.
Well said.
Yeah.
What do you mean on the line here under their challenges on the second category, the commercial and business opportunities?
Yeah.
It says are limited to more retail options, and then Orono's planning has moved away from approaches in the region to create new business space. I wasn't sure what that meant. Like we're creating.
Which one are we on?
Under challenges, number the second
Second
column, second row, second column.
Bullet point 2. in the
Oh.
middle. What does that last part of that mean? Like we're building
Yeah.
more new spaces than other people, or we're doing something different?
You're doing less and you're doing it differently. You got the University of Maine, but Orono's planning and the way you developed as a community did not embrace the growth that the rest of Bangor area did, or the state of Maine. They sold out and they did it quickly and they got great tax base from it. And they've got a lot of challenges ahead, but you put very, in my opinion, restrictive planning and land use goals on yourself. They're probably better, but they've also limited what could happen here. And now we're struggling to rebound from it. And as we're rebounding, it takes time and there's a lack of, the competition is it's so much easier in other places to just go do it because they're not going to pay attention and they're going to deal with consequences down the road that are going to make them very expensive. But that's what I'm trying to explain there is that as we don't want to unwind what we've done too quickly or at all. We want to evolve it forward to take what that great plan was and then adapt it so that it fits into this new goal better. You know, and that's as simple as the urban infill, you know, we should be doing it. There should be projects happening and they just haven't. And the reason being is that it's tough to get through the Orono processes without a lot of feedback that will make the project better. But as a developer, you're like, am I gonna spend 9 months working a project through here? Or am I gonna go slap a plan together with an engineering firm and throw it in front of the planning board in town Z that will be approved instantaneously with no feedback, no questions, no nothing, because it's a 200-acre field in the middle of nowhere that no one's like, oh, whatever, go ahead and build it. Lo and behold, 20 years from now, they're gonna have no water, no sewer, and they're gonna wonder why it's not working. We've got the plan, we got the infrastructure in place to do it right. Now we just gotta get people realizing we're the better investment.
And that's equally true for retail as well as for.
Yeah, retail's the same. You put some, you know, and again, how you develop as a downtown. I mean, it's not like, we're not as restrictive as a Camden. Camden's got some really strict rules. In fact, I think they've got like 11 districts right in their downtown itself for retail, but I mean, you've got some things along those lines, but I mean, it's good for the community because all things said, you were the home to the University of Maine. That's your number one business that pays no taxes, and we should never complain about it because they're 90%, they are your identity of what you are as a town. They bring you businesses, they bring you residents, they bring you students. It's how we leverage it better. And so that's what I meant with that. And I tried to word it, it's a tough one to word, long explanation for.
Just made me curious, so
Yeah,
thank you.
no, glad you asked.
All right, so I think grab food, bring it back, we'll just have conversations. I don't know if it needs to be that directed or we could.
Yeah, we got that little bit of the big, you asked me to ask me for the win.
Yeah, the wins are, yeah.
Break, yes.
Okay.
By you. Staff, council, you name it, but so to be proud from Orono in 2025, loosely 2025, from the police side, bus safety in the press conference, good neighbor ordinance review, achieved full staffing, things that we've already heard. Fire, got the good reports out on the SAFER grant, also achieved full staffing for a stretch. We recruited a new fire Chief Higgins.
I'm sorry. You.
Yeah. Public Works, as I look back, the Union Street boat launch, and all the work down there, shooting range for the police department, develop more and new roles. Welcome Earl, everyone just now, but welcome him to the team. Environmental services, this is where did someone say grants? Great work on many great opportunities on grants all the way over. Welcome to Megan Hess into an expanded role as also the assistant director.
One of the big forward facing things that I didn't see on there, you can put it in environmental or you can put it in the public works, is the clean out of the invasive species at Webster Park. Everybody just loves that.
Yeah, and that got me into the 20, because that was the end of last, so I mean, it was a long year for me in that first year, so to speak, but yeah, you're right, I can add that.
I'll let Mike know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is like, I love going to the park.
Can't edit
I
this
love
one.
being there. This is beautiful.
Yeah, it's
It's town prettier. Everybody wants to go to the park. There's more people there.
There's more people. I mean, living in the neighborhood, you really notice there's more people in the neighborhood. I think also because of that.
So what else do we have? Facilities, contracted out our HVAC services, began the process with the council to consider the future of the old fire station. More to come on that, I guess, as we keep moving forward. WPCF, 20+ miles of sewer pipes and 50+ manholes. If you didn't notice it, it must have been a good year.
There's 500 manholes.
Yeah. What did I say? 50? Yeah, 500 manholes. But I mean, no one saw those all year long. Perfect. You're not supposed to, that's the whole point. Design started on Route 2 and an updated UV disinfection equipment on order, yes, you would say.
On site.
On site, there we go. Assessing completion, the review of the large rental complexes. That was going on behind the scenes, but we got a, new number on all of those. That's by a third-party review. Economic development, I can't get into all the details, but we worked really closely over a large amount of time on one project. It didn't come to fruition, but boy, we really built some good processes. Planning and code, working as a compliance team. Comp plan process led to near completion. Library, another successful garden this year. Continued fundraising and design. Welcome Lindsay to her expanded role. Parks and Rec, the pool, team effort, and came out, I said nice, came out amazing. Finance, Bob Bass, retirement, new offices for better collaboration. Town clerk, another successful year of elections is proof of a great year. New staff model to address the growing needs. Community engagement, new model for sharing town information. We welcomed Cody. Town manager, which council as well, we have new committee structure, made it through a maternity leave.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah, completed almost 40 staff members through the art of human relations. Welcome Lori Bouchard. And updated the employee handbook out of ordinances. Overall, so many new staff members, sustained the new staff appreciation luncheon, sustained the barbecue, sustained cabin fever reliever, and more to come was added on. And the 360 surveys were done, first time, got it finished, took 18 months and they're done. So I took this all kind of went back, said, so what would make 2026 look like a big win? We get the final design of 56 Main Street and a proposed timeline is police. Fire, timeline for a ladder truck, which includes confirmation of any potential regional collaboration. Easy, you know, we just gotta get it done. Public Works, get rightly done with asset management and townwide reports. Environmental Services, continue to provide options and research fund stormwater without property taxes. That's the facilities, plan for HVAC in all buildings and routine maintenance of all the buildings. Let's get that plan in place that kind of ties to the brightly. WPCF, Route 2 sewer, we already talked about it, and the timeline, get that done. Assessing the post-COVID property value review. I don't know how else to call it, but that was good. I was thinking like, what would be the newspaper article header, you know? Did you do it? Planning and code, train and develop staff after all the transitions. Economic development, launch one attainable development project to show the region that Orono can create housing opportunities. We've been doing it, but we need something with some splash. Planning and library, implement library expansion with the timeline. We've got them. We just need to see it get concrete. Finance, like to see routine monthly report process with the committee and the council, and it's close. And I skip Parks. Parks and Rec, continue progress on town events, especially the Fall Festival. Town clerk, implement a program to update records of cemetery plots. You're almost there. They may not even know how much work we've been doing. It's coming soon. And then for town manager, you know, take the next steps in process of developing a townwide strategy. Council sets goals, manager develops a work plan, staff present goals, and then we integrate those into a process over the whole year. Probably the one piece as I read that, you know, the community gets their opportunity for input throughout that always. So, but that's how I would look at what is a successful year next year. I enjoyed writing this because it's the beginning of the workplace. I mean, those things will be in, many of those things, if not all, will be in the workplace. Because they have to be. We're already down the road on so many of them. But again, there's other things that would make your department look successful, but this is my take based upon council input, strategy, what we can do to move the community forward, and I think it gives us a successful year. So yeah, at that, I'll turn it back to you, Dan, to maybe talk a little bit about. And any other questions? Well, no, you can talk about the council, maybe do a wrap up here, a little bit about the staff presentations, any other things you wanted to dig into for a few minutes before we go into that next stage.
Okay, thank you. So thanks for presenting that. We're finishing the working dinner and we have 20 minutes or so.
Oh, yeah.
No, we got 3 minutes, 7, sorry.
Yeah.
So 6. So there's only one cookie left, so I didn't take it. But was there any kind of deeper, broader, so it feels like one of the underlying concerns is staffing, whether you have, Chris, you know, your succession planning in your shop and the work that we have to do to retain and attract first responders. And so those types of things, and I think it'd be helpful to maybe a deeper dive. You know, we ask clarifying questions, and as we always do, the clarifying questions sometimes get a little more than clarifying, but we try. But what can council do to help with that? I mean, are there things that you think about in terms of retention, things in terms about as we're going into our budget season and just tools, you know, how do we help with those kinds of things where you can't keep them forever, you know? So, but what types of tools, is there any outside the box things we can be thinking about as a community to help with those challenges?
I'll say something as far as it seems with the fire service today. Always seemed to be my work as a chief and thinking about trying to keep firefighters' pay. If you were in the middle of the road, you were where you needed to be. But I think that we may have to rethink some of those things for in the future. that should be higher than the middle of the road. Because that's what most others are striving to be at. And that same place, and that's just not working for recruiting with the smaller pool that's available. But I think the positive thing for us on that might be that we can look at that and think we need to increase. But if we're not hiring paramedics where we need to get our people to, and that's what we intend to do, then it's costing us so much to train them. By the time you put them through 5 years, you don't know whether they're even gonna finish some of the classes today and then move on. Because they are like nomads, like the answer of that. I think we're gonna have to look at some strategies and look at it more than just the impact it'll have on the budget for this year.
Right.
And what it might look like and then I don't know what the breakdown might be, whether it be for 3 years or what it would be, but pay those people because they have those qualifications. They have that degree. So now,
And it strikes us be that, you know, we get people trained up and then it gives them the credentials to go anywhere they want to go, anywhere they, you know. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like we invest a lot of money into training our people, and then that's gotta be a very marketable set of skills that they have or credentials that they have.
and I think a couple of things that are hurting us. One, is we used to do our own EMS testing in the state of Maine. And now we've gone to the national registry. That's who they do it with because they don't have to upgrade the tests or anything like that. The people, they take the class, they take the test. Well, a high percentage aren't passing in the first attempt. But now that makes them more marketable. A national registered EMT, advanced or
Yeah.
paramedic can go to work, no problem in Arizona.
Yeah,
But I said, I could care less about them going to work in Arizona. I want to stay here in Orono,
yeah.
stay here in the state of Maine. But not going out there, so.
It's such a hard thing because you want the best for your people, right? And you want people to be successful here, and you want people to grow in their job, and when they reach if their job is not, you want them to have success, whether ideally with us, but anywhere. So it's a hard thing to navigate.
Sure is.
So the other thing I would add is balance. What I have experienced over my time here is that staff has been very, very good at presenting budgets that are tight to do what is being asked of them. But it doesn't leave any room, right? There's not a lot of wiggle room to do extra. And I think that balance is important because you're trying to balance all these things. And I think as we walk through new ways to look at things and we have more engagement with the public with more things coming in, that is a challenge for our staff because they feel like, how am I gonna balance this when I know that we planned on this and I don't have a lot of extra to do that. And where does that fall, right? For all of our staff. And that's the balance, right? As we work through this and understanding, council's goals, townwide goals, and also, what people have come to expect. People want to lose what they already have, and I think this staff and the staffs before it were very good at saying, okay, we can do a lot of work with very slim budgets. But that does take a toll over time if those things get expanded outside of those things they plan for, I guess is what I would say.
I wonder, as we think about staffing levels and how do we retention. Clint, I guess this is as much a question for you in terms of our engagement with the university and understanding how important it is. I think about being the host of the flagship university as both opportunity and obligation. My family wouldn't live here if the university wasn't here. But the cost of we have a city within our relatively small town. So they got $350 million. I mean, it is the complexity and the scale of what they do, what they operate is more than an order of magnitude above what we do in terms of a budget. And I think about, I know there's a lot of good conversations going on. But I think we're all better off if the municipal service, what we do to support we're in an education and enrichment community. And the work that we do to help educate young people, provide experiences for young people, keep young people safe comes at there's a cost to it. It's a luxury, no, it's a luxury service, but it's a high value service that the town of Orono provides, and I'm proud that Orono provides it, and my family's here because of it, but, so those are interesting.
Question about that,
Yeah.
and it might be one save for the next get together is historically, when the university would give money every year, it would go towards public safety. And I don't know that that's been the case, but wouldn't that be one of the things used to offset some of the capital improvement projects?
I mean, where the history is, I mean, it tracked it back to one of the first agreements, that there was an agreement. And then the next year they said no more agreement. And so when you look at the formula that was in there, but what's happened is that, the bottom line is the bottom line. At the end of the year, all the services the town provide cost X. Sarah, and you talk about that, the total expense budget. And then we have all the revenues that we can bring in. And whatever we don't bring in enough for goes to property taxes. So that money they give us goes to, meaning we need less property taxes. Whether it was used for police or fire or public works or the town office. None of them are self-sustaining. We have no wastewater, sorry, you're on your own, you do self-sustain. Because your fees, you have your fees.
You can charge people, everyone, all users get charged directly.
Correct, he gets a direct user fee, but that's the exception. But so in all those, so who did it benefit, did it not? What would have been neat is a more dedicated stream that said, this is where we put it. But that was never done. And so now if you say you're putting it in particular places, especially if it went to something like reserves, like for capital infrastructure purchases, well, then it's just gonna mean that we gotta raise taxes because we put money in reserves, or do we reduce? It's now just it's like the shell game. We're gonna move the shells around. We can do whatever we want, but now that it's there, and now if more money were to come in the next few years, that would be a great conversation. Do we use this for tax reduction, or do we put it towards dedicated capital needs for the future? That's where I think we need to start looking at, but we're not there yet. And I mean, and how do we do, and that's where conversations with Megan brings up is, do we or don't we do the stormwater fees? Is that's a potential revenue stream where we could say, you know what? We're pulling this expense out, we're gonna pay for it with this, and we're not gonna increase expenses on the town side. It's actually gonna shift it to the fee. But those are, we got a long way to go on some of those.
Would those fees apply to everyone in Orono, regardless of their nonprofit status? or-
Yes,
It does.
yes.
How far back do you go for that agreement with the university?
Right now, I'm public. No one, everybody knows the elephants in the room. There's a pilot between the town and the university. I've only been here a year and a half. Been very minimal conversations, but we're building relationships. We're talking about things that are related to it with all the staff. It's coming up. When, where, and how, I don't know, but it'll come up. I mean, the reality is right now, I don't think we have enough information to know what what was it intended for and where is it going and how much is that cost increase? What is the value of the services that they thought were being provided? All while knowing payments in lieu of taxes are voluntary.
And I know the university works closely with Megan, but is there room within staff descriptions or departments that you might be able to create a type of program with the university that would let students do work for study type programs?
We mentor them in public works. Right now Scott's got a class for facilities for, was it 56 Main Street?
You mean capstone?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done what?
We do that.
Dozens of capstones over the
Yeah.
years for us.
Taylor neighborhood, was one, right?
Taylor neighborhood was one, the bridge, the
So we-
bridge, pedestrian bridge, there's a capstone on a pedestrian bridge that takes you across the still water. There's potential for more. I think probably more there is, I think it's not the town manager and the university president that's gonna make the difference. It's gonna be all the staff in this room.
Yeah.
Working with all the staff up there to find those efficiencies. Because when it's all said and done, the university is gonna be fine with 99% of it, because it's just part of doing business.
Yeah.
But the manager and president level, which is probably council manager, president level. It's when and how, you know, when do we talk about the equity of it all? Understanding we might come out the other side, finding out that more than equitable.
I was gonna say, from the clerk's office perspective, over the 10 years that I've been here, I've used and depended on the university to backfill for clerical work, stuff at the cemeteries, elections. I've had them come in and do general filing or do general projects. And we have a close relationship with Student Life as well as the business college. And I'm proud to say that we've actually had students that have stuck it out with us and come into our office as interns. And we've now released them. I've got one that's working in a municipal office in California because they got their start here by attending the university and they wanted to see what public service was like. And so we worked it out with the arrangement that they would come 2 days a week and work in my office. And some of that was service credit and some of it was paid. So where the budget has allowed or where elections funding has allowed, I most certainly use students. And I will be pretty frank with you. If I did not have the relationship I have with the university and the political science and the student life, you would not have the elections that you have here in Orono. They would not be at the standard that they're at, and they would not have a professional feel to them, because there's no way that my staff and I and those in the community could pull off what we pull off.
So the other thing I would add to that is that I think it's project-based, especially with students. It's
Yes.
much easier if you have a project and you put them on it. And you're gonna get student level work out of it, depending upon what it is. I think that obviously Parks and Rec shows a way in which we can collaborate with the university to get stuff, but it's a give and take there too, right? And I think there are a lot of conversations that have gone on about other ways to do that. They have had a lot of turnover, and with the recent kind of change in the climate around higher education and how they get funded, lots of things have changed for them, which make them kind of try to figure out how we're gonna move forward. So I think there's a lot of new people up there that are interested. I think we are maintaining and building those relationships. I think the other thing that I would bring to light is the hotel on campus, and remembering that that was zero tax dollars and it turned into $15 million worth of tax value that they basically gave us, right? They decided to do this and it was going to be taxed, and that they listened to us, because when we went and talked to them, we said, please don't, put something on campus that's gonna be tax-free and then compete with our businesses. They listened to that. So when you think about that, that's a pretty significant helping hand that they're giving kind of indirectly. And are there other ways to capitalize on opportunities like that? And I think those are part of the conversation.
I mean, we've also got UTC and EMMC with plumbing and mechanical and firefighting and police work. Are there opportunities to partner with those institutions and not just the university? As far as like, maybe it would help with staffing and education, but it would also give them working knowledge.
I mean, I think there's always opportunity, and I think we've looked at that. I know that the fire department has looked at working with other organizations, community college, that sort of thing, to get how do you educate people? I think those things are always on the table. I think, once again, trying to figure out how to do that and fit that in on top of the other things. And part of this is managing people, right? Is that I think when you look around the room here and you look at the people that are in this office, they are not managers, they are working managers, which means they're working full-time and then managing the people. And one of the challenges all the time is when you have people, you have to manage them to keep them happy and keep them moving through. And that gets really hard to balance those things. So when you add, oh, we're gonna bring in somebody that has no experience, that needs to be helped, you gotta have a very specific program to make that work, and then setting that up. So is there opportunity? Sure. I mean, I certainly would say there is, and I think those are things that we can look at on a case by case basis where it would make sense, but.
I think to spin the challenge though, there's a lot of great ideas in all of these, and I think we do them every day. And we're making movements on them. We're trying to get into the bigger issue. Now, we got a $16 million expense budget. That's why I was just pulling up and looking at our budget. Goes up 3%. It's $500,000, 480,000. Where are we finding 480,000 every year for the rest of the time? Well, 480,000, do the math. That's $24 million of new value in the town of Orono every year, new value. And we don't really track that as well as we could, but we've done pretty good in the past year. Tyler Communications, the hotel, some new value coming in the business parks, you know, Victory Lane.
Buyer's gonna come in.
Buyers, yeah, the buyer's mill, all these things make a difference, you know, and as TIFs retire, those values come on and there's value there. But we need to start tracking that new value to say, what are we offsetting? Because that's what's not transferring to them. $424 million.
And that's just that's just the town side?
That's just the town side. Yep, that's the municipal growth. I mean, again, this is where we're focused, town stuff.
And then we're stuck. Apologies, we have the opportunity to help the school and the county. Get the valuation to cover.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some bigger debates and especially with the county level, there's some things there that need to be dealt with. I mean, I've said that, again, I'm gonna say it again, it's in the newspaper today. They've got a lot of work in front of them for the next year. There's been a lot of growth there and no one can quite get their hands around what happened and why they're broke. But that being said, when you look at if you look at that 480,000, we need to grow the 24 million. Average house, let's call it 400,000. Build 60 new houses every year, you'll break even. That's what you need. That's what these communities around us have been doing.
Sailor development.
Yeah. It will.
But that's where you start, you know, those are the things, you know, yes, the big projects come, they take years. It's 4 years to do Tyler. You know, the hotel, I read about that 8 years ago. I think it was before COVID when they said they were thinking about building a hotel. They take a long, long time. We've got to figure out how can we become sustainable. Or you just got to admit that every year there's a CPI increase that we're going to pass on. And it's part of being in a town with a level of services. I mean, every time a new council comes in, do we reevaluate if we're giving the right level of service? Or do we just say, you know what, this is it? And we just look at what we're increasing each year and decreasing each year and how we monitor it. And again, these are all philosophical statements. Not saying them as that I got the answers. If I did, you know,
You come in and you want to think, you know, better, we could, you know, we can do, you know, this little thing about the city within the town. And then, oh, there's Old Town, there'd be, you know, all the different, you know, there's not a lot in these budgets that, you know, that this steel-toed shoes for the public works, you know, what are you gonna?
Yeah.
No, I'm not cutting that. I don't need to, you know, I'm not getting to that point. And there is a tremendous amount of value in the services that, and that's what I talk about the nickel and the dime and the political capital, because we go back to the taxpayers, we deliver a high value of services and people want to live in this community. And we need to be clear and articulate that there's special things about living here and those things cost money. And those are choices that we make as a community. And, you know, this education enrichment stuff, we are not every other town in Maine. We're unique and we need to lean into it. And I think that uniqueness is a draw for that $24 million. And, you know, maybe it's not 60 houses, but, you know, every Tyler Technology is here because we are Maine's education enrichment community, and they want to be in a town with the highest, with the lowest median age in Maine, except for, what town is younger than Orono?
Come on.
I said this.
Castine.
It's Castine, everybody.
Come on, I'm listening to them. Here you go.
It's Castine. So there's no, you know, we're the youngest, we're like 21.4 is the median age of Orono. And, you know, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But that is, you know, we're
Using my police department.
Yeah.
The meeting.
But we're a town of young people, young talent, young energy, and you know, I think that's a real value proposition for companies, for people who want to live in a community like ours, where it's walkable, it's outdoor, and you have access to these. I mean, I went to 2 Division I athletic events and I was home in 5 minutes, you know, at both,
The other thing that I would add to that is a opportunity here is the fact that even with increased property taxes, even with increased property house values, people want to live in Orono. The houses are all selling, they're gone like that. So people are still coming, right? So I think part of this is managing and building this, and maybe it isn't 60 yet, but if we can continue to maintain, you know, some new growth and some growth steadily, you're going to pick that up because people want to come, but doing it right and balancing it with everything else we want to do.
But there's one, I mean, so when you put it together, it's all the little ideas you were just sharing and you've shared and the growth that I've talked about, and then the relationship, it's that whole, it's all just everything. And if we can move that all as a bundle, knowing they're all not gonna happen at the exact same time. You know, there's no magic wand. It's not like, boom, it's done. Now we can just sit back and watch. It's not gonna be that easy, but I think right now, this is the beginning of that. And that's why I would say a year ago, I was like, where do you see Orono going? I don't know. I mean, figure out where Orono wants to go, you know, that kind of thing. And after a year doing this, I think Orono wants to go ahead a little. Not in an aggressive change who we are way, but in a, let's kind of fill in some of those gaps, places where we may have stalled for a while. Let's bring it back. And I think that's, so I think as you're looking at your goals, I think what I just said was influenced by the goals you wrote a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's my segue to you to say, you know, you've heard from the staff and where we're at, and what our challenges are and what we're trying to accomplish. And I think staffing's definitely a item that we deal with a lot. I think Lori Bouchard was a great step in that direction, and keeping her was better. And I think there's more that will happen with her as we work as a team to improve that. But yeah, I'll kick it over to you, but where do you want to go with your goals for next year, council?
it's, yeah. So let's talk about them. You gonna call them up?
And call them up.
So these are the 24, 25 goals. And this isn't the one, this is the bullet version, right? So it's not the long.
No, it's the
version.
long, we got the long version in.
I think you only have it for,
How
I
do I
don't
only
think you
have?
have the long version of the council goals unless it's way down.
No,
I thought it was in here.
No, there's like a.
Oh, yeah,
blurb.
there it is. That's it. That's it. If you open up that's.
Okay, yeah,
You
sorry.
can click and open it.
I thought it was if you open the link, it's right there. Yeah. Yep, long term, there they are.
So.
Let's open it for Adobe. So it's.
Okay, and I'm gonna jump right in and say the first one definitely has to stay. Like, we made progress, but we're not like all the way where we need to be, and that's definitely a step.
So just to, we said this in the meeting last night too, we're having a discussion. This is a workshopping this as a council, but we will vote on it in a public meeting as an agenda item, just like we
did last year.
With public input to the extent that someone wants to. Yeah, I don't think anything, you see anything there that you want to change? Anyway, and they open it anyway. I mean, I'd like to hear from many, you know, if anybody. Doesn't have to be a counselor to.
I think on the second one, Dan, it would make sense to change.
Are we okay with the first one though? Let's
Oh, we're
finish.
going one by one. Okay.
Anybody, Matt or Andrea, John, or any members of the team? Feels like you're on. Zach, looking at you, brother.
Hey, I'm always on board for financial planning.
Yeah, put it right in the top.
It's the biggest thing we didn't do as much as I wanted to this year, but we made a lot of progress, but
Yeah, we
it,
did.
You did a lot.
when you look at the work plan, it didn't
did
get
a lot.
100%, but I don't think 100% was attainable.
You did a crazy amount in 1 year on that, I feel like personally. So I think there's still room, but you did an amazing amount.
I do think, you know,
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that one's pretty solid.
pretty tight. All right. Improve council efficiency, implement the recommendations of the NECAP committee, complete policy manuals, and fully establish your municipal year cadence. I've changed that to council year cadence.
Yeah. Change the word, maybe.
Of transparent goal setting and evaluation for the council and the town manager. I think we did a lot of that. We haven't, got a policy manual coming
You
together.
better leave it if you want me to finish that policy manual, because it's a lot of work. If you take it off, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
I think it should be, if I may, complete and integrate the
Yeah.
policy manual.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's what next year's gonna change into.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna finish
You
it
had a
till
note on
February.
that? Get it?
We're lucky playing February. Yeah, and I also, I wonder if there needs to be, I mean, I'm just gonna bring this up because you told us to bring in also things we thought maybe needed to be added that aren't there. And so I came in thinking about the couple of those things and if they didn't fit somewhere, obviously where they might go. So I'm just gonna bring back again that, pretty much since I got elected, like one of the biggest things I heard from the community was transparency, transparency, transparency about information. And we've made a lot of progress on that. And I still feel really strongly that getting all of our policies online, not just some of them, but all of them, is really important for community transparency. And we've made progress. There's a page on the website that says policies and procedures, and it has some of the police policies linked, and it has some of the council policies linked on there, and it has the new personnel policy manual that Clint and staff worked so hard with Lori to get up there. So we're started. And I know it's staff time to be able to find the policies for each department and get them there. And I do feel like the community has been asking for quite a few years about that. And I would really like to see us make a commitment to get the policies there. If we can't do it all in one year, to say we'll get at least certain percent of them up. I think it's an important piece of transparency. And for me, it's the only piece left that we're kind of missing. So for the schools, if you go on the website, every policy the school has is on the website, with the exception of safety ones that police can't share. I mean, those are exempted, right? But everything else is there. And then nobody in the community can ever say there's some policy and procedure that's hidden that we don't know about.
Well, how much of it is that the policy is not fleshed out to the point where people are comfortable publishing it?
I'm only asking for the ones that exist. I mean, the ones that don't exist, maybe over time to build up, but I'm just saying the ones that do exist.
Yeah, so let me just talk about it. Like we just, Shelley, we had, whose presentation was it? We had a presentation last night about an ordinance change. And, a lot of those lead up with, practices don't reflect the ordinances. So we're going through a 5-year process to update our ordinances, which are the most public and transparent thing a municipal government can do. And I guess I just wonder, given how long it takes, I mean, it's a lot of work, and you did yours last night. You're welcome, right? I mean, I hope you get to Shelley before she got to us, but I'm sure you did. But so we're gonna go through all those, and it's gonna take us 5 years to get them all ready and updated, and then we're gonna keep doing it as a cadence of municipal or town council work. So I guess I asked that question. I don't know how many, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but knowing how much work we're doing to update our 30 whatever chapters we have, I guess I wonder how many policies are fleshed out and have the production value ready to be prime time viewed on a public website, public facing website, as opposed to, and just haven't been posted, as opposed to, people would need a lot of resources and time and energy to get them finalized to that point.
I hate this quote, but you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So what we should start with is, let's give you the list of what we think we have. I mean, right now, as I look at the site, it's got the fire, it's got the police, and it's got our handbook. Wow, those are big. Those are 3 really big areas where there's a lot. But again, what you don't have, and again, right now, those are just, I think if we click police, it's going to link to, no, it doesn't. It goes just right straight. Yours are on your site. We just need to link your site to link to our site. We have them online. They're just not all in one single place.
Yeah.
So I like it. I mean, it's a way to tweak into that.
Okay, yeah, I'm about it. I just want to be clear, lay it out on the table that I don't think all the policies that Chris, administers on a daily basis, maybe aren't all written down everywhere. Maybe they're just, he knows what he's, there's some mix of, this is how we do it versus, it's written down.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I think there's a difference between a policy and a procedure.
Sure.
And I think that's part of what we need to clarify.
Okay.
Like if it's a policy, it's something that we're committing, that this is how we're doing it. If it's a procedure, I don't need every procedure for everything that every department does. I wouldn't begin to want that, but I think
9 AM, we start shoveling the sludge. And
in my mind, and I think that there's a legal definition, between policy and procedure. They're not the same thing. So I certainly wouldn't want procedures.
Yeah, okay.
But I think there are some policies in most departments, and it would be great to have, if we have them and they really are a policy, maybe if they're not, they need to be relabeled a procedure. But if they really are a policy, I think it's something that community should be able to find if they go looking for it.
It's time to do the inventory.
Yeah,
Yep.
and make some progress on it. I realize it may not finish in a year, but I think it's important to start making some.
Are you okay if we
Yeah.
add that, do the conduct an inventory and posting of available municipal policies under this improved council efficiency? Or do you want a
The
separate?
goal needs to be changed to say improve efficiency and transparency. Because, I mean, one of them is different than the other, and it's not all about council. I mean, it's council transparency by getting our policy manual up there, and it's also across departments. So for me, I would think it should say maybe improving efficiency and transparency, but.
Anybody else want to, counselors in particular?
I like to be as transparent as possible. I know that that will cause some, if it's not readily available, policies may not be readily, who knows when some of the departments have policies made, but it's good to see.
Who was the, last year there was a liaison on the council for the goals.
What?
We had, someone kind of said, I'll take staff, I took some work with staff and we put together like a summary. And we kicked it off to a counselor. Remember which
For
counselor?
writing up the goals?
For bringing it in as a resolution.
This was Jacob.
It was
This was
Jacob.
Jacob.
Okay. So, I mean, from my perspective, this is my job. I'll work on these ones as you're working these notes. We're not gonna write them here today.
Yeah.
That would be a waste of our time. So why don't I kick it out to someone, whether it's a Jacob or a Dan or a whoever, Sarah?
And I think Sarah and me, I'm like, if you find, oh, I don't really know what my department policies are, that's just something to know. You know,
It's
there's
not a
nothing,
policy
it's not a.
Why don't we, and what we could do is we could, one of the three of us could work on it into the agenda setting meeting for, and I can,
Spoke 2 hours.
What's-
Thanks, we keep adding things to Monday.
yeah, but I could, yeah. We could bring
Anyway,
it, yeah,
That was one I wanted to flag.
okay.
Like, personally, I don't know what the policy would even be for some of these departments at all.
Well, I don't know, but we'll find out. Like, I think the library has some policies that
And
I've
they're linked on our
that
website.
are on your website, and I think the police has some that are linked on theirs, and I think, but just for making it easy for people in the community to know the policies, not the procedures,
Yep.
but any policy that's written down, you go to this one spot and here's where you find them all, I think would be helpful, yeah.
And it should be a repository of one
Yeah.
plan, one landing
That makes
page.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would almost think that to initially start this ball rolling down the hill, we should take a look at prior town council minutes and do an inventory search. Because if it was a policy or a department change that had significance that the council was being made aware of, it would have been mentioned in minutes. And the easiest way I can reference this is like the internal controls policy for the finance department that talks about how Zach and I are supposed to conduct our offices for fiscal management. That is a policy that in a quick search may or may not be on our website. But it most certainly would be recorded in our minutes because it would have been brought to council, it would have been talked about during audit. And that could start that list to form.
Yep.
And then we could work from.
The council's got a goal, we can put a plan and it'll have a measurable on how much time. It may be a year, it might be 3. We'll keep, till we figure it out, but yeah, I like it.
Okay. So that'll be the second bullet.
Yep.
And we'll work on the drafting of that in our agenda setting and when did we want to vote on these? We want to vote on our December 1st meeting?
That was the rough
I think
plan.
maybe
First or
15th is fine.
December.
It's gotta happen in December, I think, but if we don't get till the 15th, it's okay.
Okay. All right, enhance and expand community events engagement, develop a budget and plan to reestablish an Orono Festival Days in the fall of 2025. And get rained out for fireworks, but whatever.
When are those happening?
Get those, yeah,
Water department?
You gotta rework it.
yeah. What do you want? What do you?
Do we want to,
We already did this one, so we're gonna
Yeah.
maintain,
I was thinking maintain, yeah.
but maintain it in a more
Maintain and grow.
maintain and grow.
Yeah, kind of mentality.
Community events that bring Orono together. Can we use Orono together? I still have that in mind. Campaign signs.
Yeah.
We're not together. Yeah.
I have a question about that one too, that relates to other events that are here, like Parks and Rec, and so like, I don't know if now's the time to just ask, but I mean, we can get into details later. I guess we just have to have overall goals, so
Sure.
if there's a special detail on this, or I just, we can wait, right? Is there gonna be another chance to talk with staff ever about that? Or we just route it through Clint or I'll come back if we have time.
Oh, ask her, I mean, ask it,
I
whatever.
don't wanna like take up too much time either.
Yeah.
I've just been trying to think, since it sort of overlaps a bunch of stuff, it goes under the long-term financial sort of planning and building planning. It feels like the Keith Anderson building remains a space that I'm never fully clear how much it's being utilized, whether we've ever as a council said, it's a priority. Please figure out if you put time into it, how heavily utilized could you get that building? Or is it already there, right? And I feel like we keep being asked sort of to make decisions about these buildings long-term. And I've felt like I'm not clear if we've ever sort of said to staff, what would it take for you to put a serious focus on that and like get that building as utilized as it possibly can be? So that we have a sense of what the community might put in it fully on out, like if we put on a full-on press on that. So I'm just kind of curious, and Megan might be able to answer it, or imagine it's a staffing issue like everything is, and.
Well, when you say use it fully, I guess I would want more context as to that expectation. Are you expecting the lights on and someone in it from 7 AM to 7 PM every single day of the week of the year? Or is it available to the community and it's a rotating space and that is the way it's being used to the fullest capacity at the moment? Finding that definition, I think, is important for the direction.
100%. And I don't know the answer. So I was like, it'd be good to talk about when staff are here because I don't know. What I know is that from the community perspective, people remember it when it felt like it had more happening in it and was sort of more vibrant than it has felt to people. I don't even actually know what's in it. Like I've never seen a schedule of like every day of the week, what happens in there.
The
Right?
good news is we can do that. Bad news is in comparison to what it felt like in the 40s when it was
No, I don't think
vibrant
the
and
40s.
booming.
I mean, when
in the
I moved here,
80s.
I mean, when I moved here and I've only lived here 15 years ago. So for the
That
first
felt
5
more-
years.
Felt more vibrant. Was that because they were things that you were aware of in your own personal interests, or was it actually being used more?
It was being used more, I think. I mean, Andrea could speak, you've lived here a long time. I think it really was being used more. I mean, there were events that the community knew about, like, I mean, every Friday, there was a lot happening in there.
I think the large difference in what you're describing and what I have to do as a newer director and the policies and information that I have is keys and insurance are a lot stricter than they were in the past. And that process is a lot more contained and organized than it I don't want to say has been in the past forever, but in my short time, that has changed significantly. And I hear it from renters as well.
I will just add this. When I started here as a Parks and Rec director, I was handed a key to that building, a new key. It had the number 157 on it. There were 157 keys out there in the community that people had. So people were just using the building. No one knew when they were using the building. I would go in there and rent it and somebody else would be in the building. So there's been a lot of change over the years about how that can be used and when it can be used. So that's kind of part of it. There was literally no controls in place. Just anybody that wanted
But I
to use
think-
it was doing it.
Starting to get that measure
Yeah.
of what is the current
Yeah.
usage.
Maybe just what it is, and also like, some things we can't change. I'm sure you don't want to change, right? Like, that sounds safer, and I don't want that to go away, but there may be things we can change, right? There may be ways that we can publicize better. Or we could, as a council, say, we're gonna fund something toward those insurance costs, and that would allow people to use it more. I mean, that's a monetary thing, right? There are things, so some way that we actually focus a little bit on that building in that community engagement part, so that we can see what might happen if council did some things differently or gave you funding or whatever, because we keep then getting asked, do we want to keep this building in these building discussions? And it's kind of hard to answer that sometimes when we don't know how fully utilized it could be.
And I think that since you moved here, or,
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago, there wasn't 3 different theater groups.
100%.
At the university, at the mall. So the community theater was valuable and it was using it a lot. They're no longer there. Performing Arts Center at the high school.
I agree.
I mean, we go there before we go to Keith Anderson.
Right.
And I think other groups would too.
I agree.
Well, how many years has the library been where it is?
16 years.
Yeah.
So 16 years ago, there wasn't a library in Orono.
Right.
I almost said
No,
no.
there-
It was on, it was on.
Well, no, but it was in
Part of the-
it was part of a school. It was a completely different format and structure.
But that's actually what I mean, Lori, that I think there's so many new spaces that have been built.
Right.
Like, I don't actually have a sense if the Keith Anderson is a space that is going to attract enough stuff or not. And I
That
think.
begs another question is when we build the expansion
That will
and
change
have
it
the
again.
community room, who's gonna want to use that rather than going up the stairs to Keith Anderson and everything
And
creaks, right?
why the Keith Anderson has so much, what's the word I'm looking for?
History
Why
about-
history and the community enjoys it. Everybody has an experience there, because at one time or another, because it's available, it was something.
Yep.
It was the library, it was this, it was that, and I mean, I always joke, I walk into that little closet off the thing and remember getting my hockey jersey.
Yep.
That's where I got it, when I was a kid. So, I mean, everybody has that experience, so it's really, there's just a lot of emotion and memories that tie to that, because everybody's used it because it was available to be used when somebody needed it. And then when the theater group decided I can't do what I want here, I moved out. And when this group, I moved out. And so that's the balance, is, are we to a point where we just don't have those major groups in there?
That's my point. We may be there. And
Yeah.
I'm curious,
Do we
and I
have
don't know if we
groups that
know
don't
until we.
know they could
Yeah.
use it. And I think, do we have groups that that don't know they could use it?
That's what I mean.
think
Right.
If we had a calendar or idea of the usage, then maybe it could become available to some of the residents who want to create, community art or marketing or something like that,
You can only, but yeah, the challenge is like, I used to love going to the mall, and I don't go to Bangor Mall very much anymore, you know?
It's
And
great at Halloween. It's scary.
yeah, well, so there's a push-pull element here, and things have changed, and we've got this facility, and the town can do, I think the town, the resources we have 2 people in the rec department. I think there are only so much we can do to make it available, and then people have to come out of the woodwork to use it. Like, we did the potlucks, and you did that first year, and they were, a lot of work on you. And Matt and Andrea, last year, I come in, I wash dishes, because I'm just out of social energy at that time of day. But, that hasn't, we're not doing them every month right now, because we're not investing what's that? We will be here. Yeah, we're busy, and everyone's busy, and that's why, Arts of Palooza became the Orono Arts Fest. And the town had to step, so there are only so many times where we can kind of force events, so it's a push and pull thing. I
definitely don't want to be creating them. I'm just curious if there are people who want to use the space. And listening to Lori, though, it also makes me think maybe we hold on it until the new library space gets built. And then we do it and we find out. It's just, I don't know how soon it's going to cycle back to council again to make decisions on these buildings.
So get some language into the community events and engagement goal that's about what the community events are.
What the opportunities are.
The opportunity,
Even just
inventory,
spaces, like,
opportunity.
just get spaces, something
Yeah.
about spaces
Spaces.
in there,
Yeah.
community
Okay.
spaces.
Like you
and-
used to have the senior citizen lunches down there every Wednesday.
Yeah.
At the Birch Street School.
Yeah.
We would go down and help
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, and I don't think they're utilizing that anymore.
You used to have a volunteer fire department.
Hmm?
You used to have a volunteer department division. in your fire department.
Yeah, that's true about it.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Should we bring it back?
Well, we would go down there and do blood pressure.
the
tests and
on-staff-
stuff like
Well,
that.
no, but that's what I'm saying is that when I talk to Dan's evolution, things do evolve and do change, good, bad, or indifferent.
Not going back to school.
Yes.
Not happening.
But yes, we need to move forward and still utilize what we have
Correct.
in a way to
Yep.
take some of the history and bring it so that it's vibrant, like you said, vibrant again.
Yeah.
And whether it's we create something or we make it available so that people know they can. Right now, I don't think people know where they can go to do some things.
All right, so that one. Yep. Not so much the Orono Festival Days, but kind of a broader about the opportunities for everyone to enhance, to expand community events engagement.
Spaces where people can
Spaces,
bring their events to.
parks
Yep.
too, I mean, we could talk
We've
about.
heard a lot about parks, like on the council survey, we heard a lot about utilizing our outside spaces
Mhm.
more than we sometimes are for even town events, which I think was useful.
I think that term you use, community spaces, is a really
Yeah.
useful one.
Okay.
That, what was that?
The term community spaces,
Yeah,
You said
whether it's
community spaces
buildings or the
because-
green space,
Yeah.
green spaces or.
Yeah.
yep, and having
Something about
accessibility.
maximizing and facilitating
Yeah.
use of community spaces, yeah.
Ready to move on to the next one, economic development housing?
Yeah.
Last year's was develop at least one tangible, and we already talked about tangible initiative linked to commercial development, at least one tangible initiative to improve housing obtainability in Orono. We could change it to just add $24 million valuation to Orono. Now that we got a number. Andrea and Brian can put a, addition on their kitchen. We'll go over there and tax that. That's, a little bit off the top and then.
Well, we are talking about an in-law apartment.
Oh, there we go. We're halfway home, we're probably home.
Brian in that?
Yeah, it's the tiny house in the back of the corner.
Just a little bit. We gotta get to 24 million.
Well, we gotta grow, or elaborate tangible.
Yeah.
I think.
A better word than tangible. More.
You know, I think
Good idea.
me personally, I would be more interested in like the tangible part, not being like there's an actual house sitting there, but maybe like I don't even know if it's too ambitious to be like some an actual like bid out for a company to come take a look at a property to develop or something. I don't know if that's too crazy.
Yeah, we don't want to micromanage.
I don't want to micromanage, so, but I'm trying to say I want to
What about the
So
comprehensive
let
plan?
me ask a question that might help you define
pull
this.
it back a little bit.
So you say, let's talk about commercial, not housing, which is a little bit different, but commercial development, tangible commercial development. We had Victory Lane opened. Okay, is that a tangible commercial thing?
Yeah.
You've attained that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have Kids Piece that went into a new
Going into a,
it's already in.
oh, it is in now.
Yep, it's in. Grand opening on Godfrey Drive that's in the old MBNA building next to, across the street from the Bug Lab, that area.
What do they do?
That's a school for kids with,
Mental health.
yeah, mental health.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
That's
So a private investor bought it,
Yeah.
renovated it, and rented it to them.
Yeah. So you got two things that have happened within the year almost completely. Is that, I mean, is that what you're talking when you say tangible?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And-
very tangible.
And I think ultimately the goal for economic development would be to continue those things.
Yeah. Consistent with
You
the
know,
company.
being consistent in trying to, to grow those things. I think the housing thing is a piece on its own.
Yeah.
How about a report? What if we just generated an annual report out of that department that talked about the actual projects, like you just
I
said?
was gonna say, maybe it could say something like about taking, I don't know if tangible is exactly the right word, but like tangible steps toward these things instead of initiatives, because the initiative sounds pretty big and like it's a big, huge thing. And I also think it should say something not just about whether we call them measurable or tangible or some kind of steps. But also like reporting out, we were saying on a report, like whether it's a report or whether it's how we publicize out to the community, whether it ends up in the Orono Observer or it comes out on something about these are the new businesses that have moved into town, or these are the, making an emphasis to also get that information out. Cause I think part of what makes it tangible is when people actually know about it.
I also like, I understand part of what we're trying to do is get something for next year, right? But I do feel like some of these goals, maybe we almost need a longer horizon on them. And what of because the school needs more kids. We want to keep the school vibrant. We want to keep the school going. To get more kids, we're gonna need a certain amount of people coming into Orono, right? It's gonna have to stay the same, it's gonna have to change, I think. And so, but to get that amount of people, to get a couple hundred kids in here, we're talking about quite a few families, but not every person who moves here is gonna have kids. So we're talking about quite extensive amount of people probably coming here, or maybe people just start having more kids. I'm not like pressing that. I'm thinking of including families here more than like.
Good government, my bedroom man.
Socially engineered Orono, but what I'm saying is I think that's a long-term goal that is not something that we can do in a year, but I still think it's a good goal to have. I don't know.
Well, it's in the
You know,
comp
more
plan.
tangible,
gonna say,
yeah, but with a real long horizon.
Why?
That is a comp plan, yeah.
Maybe that's what we're missing. Maybe the comp plan needs to be part of this goal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
continue to measure the progress of that,
The
because
report-
that's there.
The report could be for the fall observer. Okay, as we wrap up the council year.
Great.
And we could do a economic development report consistent with the
Right.
comp plan.
Or we could tie it to Cody's goals and he
Yeah.
could reinvent the annual report. to be more modern and current. And vibrant.
And I think if you make it say something about take steps toward.
Yeah.
That makes it
Yeah.
clear that it's not all gonna happen in 1 year. Like, this is never gonna happen in
Yeah.
we council. I mean, it's not, it's a bigger timeline, but if it says something about take steps toward, it's gonna have the initiative done.
But I also, I guess on the other flip side, I also am a person of, as Mitch knows, a person who likes, real things that we can jump over. Like there's a real hoop we can go through and we can say that we've been through that hoop. And I don't want it to be so nebulous. And so some of these long-term horizon things maybe are like, we almost got there or we got over that and we flew through it. But those are more tangible, like a goal of like, we want to have so many families move to Orono. That's a tangible goal that we can say we got close, we flew over it, or we got, but and so I'm stuck in this netherworld of wanting to make it so innocuous that we're gonna make that goal, we're gonna get it because we can make it say whatever we want next year. But not make, or actually have real, like biting, tangible goals, like we want this to happen. Knowing that we may fail, but also making it actually be doable in a year. So I don't know how I would get that.
Anything that's really worth accomplishing is gonna take more than a year to do, like the school, I mean, I think that is the metric that really matters in terms of the comprehensive plan and housing in Orono.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that we have enough, if we're Maine's education enrichment community, we darn sure better have enough students to, make sure that our schools are viable and funded appropriately. And that goal is, that's not a 1 year goal, that's a goal, and then we have strategies, tactics, and outcomes related to that. But if we had a goal is to produce a economic development report, I mean, if that was the goal, is housing development consistent with the comprehensive plan, which the whole participation was not great, you gotta be careful, but in the comprehensive plan, but you could say consistent with the comprehensive plan, and then the deliverables for this year would be to get on a sequence of a report back, an annual report back to the community, consistent with the council. I'd like this report to go out before the 360 surveys go out. Cause it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like, if we don't take it apart, if we're gonna ask people what they think about us, our work, we're stepping out, we're putting ourselves out there as a council in terms of having goals. And we put them on top of every agenda. We ought to report back on what we did before we ask people to, grade us on our performance. So.
What would staff like to see us do? What, other than giving you more stuff to do?
Right.
Is there an item, a focus point that would benefit, whether it's all of the departments or a specific department, or is there something that any of you have an idea on of what you would like us to focus on?
You kind of took us in a different direction there. We're closing in on something, but I'm open to it, but.
Come back to, I think that makes sense to me, and just looking back on.
The annual report thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on the report. To me, that is a staff question, because we're writing one more report is more work for staff. It's not like council had to do it. So I'm more curious about whether that feels helpful to staff or whether we just.
That's why I said
this in
the
such a way
town
that-
does do an annual report. And it needs, Cody's identified it as an area he'd like to.
And I think the
Do something.
report is a summation of what you're asking us to do, not a.
Right.
The
And
product,
report.
Yeah.
right? So that, it doesn't necessarily define the goal, it just
No.
tells everybody
So I
whether
still
we
think-
made the goal or not.
Right, so we still need to say what.
And,
the
and
goal is.
again, maybe that's where I look at this and say, we should apply for the annual report of the year this year. I mean, but that's a good goal. We can measure it, we can try, we can put our name in for it and see how we do.
Yeah, it's not a council goal though, right? So you don't think?
Well, if you're gonna get us to report out the data, the goal is you getting to see that data in a way. I mean, this ties into a lot of other departments. I mean, police has got some grand goals and I said, no, you gotta get to the town, we're not doing reports by individual departments till we prove we can do a town-wide report So,
I think if it goes on your work plan, that makes sense, but I think Dan has a point that that's not really a council goal.
well, no, I think it goes to work plan, but you remember the work plan comes out of some of
Yeah.
these goals that you're setting here.
Dan, what would this look like if this just was changed a little bit to say something like take measurable steps toward commercial development and to improve housing attainability in Orono and report back to the community on those steps?
Yeah, I'd like it to say consistent with the comprehensive plan, but I think that works.
Okay.
If people are
Something
okay
like
with that.
that.
Okay.
You okay with that? We're gonna come back to your,
General question.
your right turn, just a second. I think it's a good question.
Got in there.
You guys get
We'll
that?
have to look at all these other resolutions too, right? Like Orono stops and everything else.
We could, yeah.
Okay, we'll find it.
Let me wave so you can.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time? I know that
You got 40 minutes.
we're
but-
definitely getting out of here before 7:30.
Yes. So you did, I can have, well, your voice matters and Orono stops. Is there any change to any of that?
What's that? Oh, yeah, Andrea.
Previous thing.
Talk about those as part of it. I mean, I would like to see Orono stops go into beyond the Route 2 corridor and into the neighborhoods. Especially where we've already had, we've had a concern in the top end. And we've put a business in Penobscot Street. I'd like to see some of the Orono stops reach into the neighborhoods.
Where does it say that it's on the Route 2 corridor?
Well,
In that
just,
resolution, does it say
I
that?
think that's just more where it feels like the
Okay.
focus has been.
it's just kind of where Matt and I live. And kind of- No, it's kind of the bias. I'm sorry.
So the next
There's a lot
stop,
of pressure at home on this. No, it's
the
not.
next stop for the community development committee is to prioritize. There was a survey that encompasses everything that people responded, that's inside neighborhoods and that sort of thing. So I think that's the next step for them to prioritize anyways in that
Yeah.
process, so.
Did you hear about this? You did, right? Did you get the update on this?
Sort of.
So, yeah. So it's like a five, we want to come up with, take these survey elements and sequence them over the course of, so they can align with like a capital plan, so that it makes sense. So we're doing it in a tangible way that, so when the people come and say, I want this done, well, if we don't get them on a list that and prioritize it and then match it with available resources and capital planning, it's not gonna get done.
Correct.
So, that's the thinking. Yep. And that way we have space to put stuff. Cause when everybody comes, there's concerns about parking in the Mountain View neighborhood on Halloween. I just don't wanna talk anymore about it other than that.
Yep.
But just say that it was, that's, where do you put those in the line of priority, so. Okay, so how do you want, is there wording in the Orono stops you think need to be?
I don't know about the word, yeah, I think if we could include wording about the safety in the neighborhoods.
Well, this is
So what it currently says under the therefore is the Orono Town Council proclaims its commitment to establishing a culture of roadway sharing and safety for everyone who lives, works, or learns in our community or drives through our town with the launch of Orono Stops. The town of Orono will work with our partners at RSU 26 and the University of Maine to make Orono's streets safer and more complete. We encourage residents, students, parents, and families from here in town and around the world to participate in our public awareness efforts. Be it resolved, everyone stops for buses and pedestrians and crosswalks, Orono stops speeders, distracted drivers, impaired drivers, and anyone not adhering to our shared goal of roadway sharing and safety. So that's what it currently says on the therefore parts.
So I would probably, I think is, need to emphasize, I think in this, when we prioritize these projects, I think is when we get into the neighborhood stuff in terms, because there's a lot of calls for traffic calming in Webster. We've done the speed bumps on Forest, but there's the tough end needs stuff. Matt was gonna close it to all roadway traffic, vehicle traffic. Just walking in the tough end from now on.
It's all gonna be one way on in.
Yeah, one way in the tough end, you can never leave. That's,
It's all one way.
you got a neighborhood named the tough end. Well, yeah, so,
I do my part. I glare at people as they drive by,
Yeah,
so.
you should walk your dog with me, because that's where I get lobbied the most on
If you've got a suggestion on that language, do you want to send it in to Dan or I before if you have it now? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it does say for everyone who lives, works, or learns in our community, so that maybe has the neighborhoods covered, but if you feel like it needs to be called out more somewhere.
And if I agree, it does have the neighborhoods covered, but I think maybe with your safety plan, that's going to bring a little bit more focus into the neighborhoods that I
Yeah.
don't think people have seen.
Yeah, it needs to happen.
And it's partly because of where we live, of course, and then it's also partly because we've sort of been confronted because of the people who've come in and about these things. So that would have written to the council in general, that would include Stillwater. So, yeah.
And just to clarify, it's not anything with the PD. I think it's more just the way we've talked about the conversations. And the focus of.
There's no confusion
Be
though.
mindful.
Orono Stops is a
Everywhere.
police, education, enforcement, and investment on road safety.
Three-legged stool. I don't
But
know.
road safety,
Yeah,
not nuisance properties, not disorderly properties, not trash in your backyard. This is about
yeah.
roads. Okay, because with good neighbor going on and some of that, that's not a road.
Separate.
That's okay. Just
Yeah, I don't know when that
Yeah,
got
we've got
suggested to be
Crosby's-
merged, but that never made any sense to me. Like,
Okay.
it's different.
Well,
than
no,
where
what
it's
we're
not.
trying to, but again, I guess what that's sort of to say is that good neighbor is dancing on being a position like Orono Stops. It's taking on and growing fast.
So maybe that should get.
And again,
added.
well, so if you're going, but again, now we're adding to something that's pretty full. And I guess I want to make sure as you grow, I gotta manage your growth with this team.
Yeah.
How much are we growing it?
Our success.
There you go. And
Yeah, she's success.
You say growth, I hear success.
We need beer.
we definitely do. But I was thinking, just on the Orono Stops though, yeah. I don't think it's just the police. I want to call out that from the beginning, this
Right.
was clear that you said police, but I think it's police, it's public works, it's what we do to improve the intersections, the speed bumps, it's all those. So, yeah.
Yeah, infrastructure, yeah, no, I agree, but
Okay.
so
What?
is good neighbor becoming a service province?
Right.
I guess I would say is what I would like to leave here today with is that maybe not being added this year. And by the time the Good Neighbor Committee finishes up in May, you might have a better idea where you're gonna be for next year.
Yeah, I don't think we're going back in terms
Okay.
of, I mean, I think we're gonna have to be proactive. I think everyone's gonna have to keep paying attention to good behavior in Orono. And, we don't have to have,
Okay.
I thought meeting once every 3 or 4 months for an update was a good way to do it and gives the town and the department a chance to communicate progress and success and, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna keep a committee ongoing.
Okay, no, as I heard it, I didn't know if they were coming close to each other, if they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, we're good.
But there'll be a special need for engagement with the university and the university students on it, because it's, they're such an impacted subset of our. Okay, all right, so Andrea, you're gonna get us something, maybe more if you see something more you wanna highlight in terms of the neighborhood stuff, but we are moving in that direction with okay. And Your Voice Matters, we're still, feels like that's the last piece. There it is.
It's on the website.
I think it's.
We've not done a good job with these easy to find video tutorials.
We gotta work on that.
Yeah, we do.
Um,
And that's on us a lot in terms of like, we need maybe that's too much.
yeah, maybe that
Expect.
shouldn't be there. But.
I mean, certainly something you work towards, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's a,
May take a
that's
while.
that's probably a Cody thing, and when you put it in, we didn't even have Cody.
Yeah,
I don't think you need to change that this year.
No, I think we can stay.
I think it's a continue to be monitored. I mean, we might make more progress. Sometimes these happen very organically.
yeah,
You just don't know it, and then all of a sudden you're looking like, wow,
Yeah.
did it. So,
okay.
We never have Megan Hess in the room, so how are you feeling about our stewarding our resources thing on there? Is that written in a way, if someone scrolls it down, that makes sense to you? Do you feel like there's more things we could be doing, or, I don't know, I'm just curious. We never actually get to talk to you that often and at our council meetings, so
I can
take a look at it.
take a look at it.
Yeah, it would be great. Yeah. It would be awesome. I
I
think
certainly can, yeah.
it'd be good to get
Just
feedback
that
from
last
an expert in
line.
the room, because I feel like
Steward
we
of
do all
environment
that
members
work
are
actually.
really-
Not really us, so. Yeah. But making sure we support what you need to do that work, I guess is my point. That last goal kind of ties through.
Yep, no, agreed.
I was wondering, just maybe we don't need to call this out anywhere, but I guess since this is supposed to be like council's chance to talk about goals with each other for the year. And I just want to say out loud that I hope that we're keeping in mind that we have these outstanding reports that we're still waiting for from the Wabanaki Ocoee Museum interpretive plan about all the things we could be doing in town to really make our culture and history and ongoing connection to the Penobscot Nation more visible and accessible to the public. I felt like the Werewalk did some really cool things with that in June, but we're getting a report that's going to come back, and I don't know which one it fits into. Maybe it goes under the listening to everyone, which has some DIB language. I'm not sure where it goes. But for me, I would be really sad if that report comes back and we haven't prioritized in some way taking actions on that. I think it would be very offensive to, the Penobscot Nation, who's invested a lot of their time and effort in helping to develop that plan. So I don't know what it ties into, but if people feel like it's tied clearly to a goal, then I'm good. I don't need it explicit somewhere, but if it isn't, then I would want to make it explicit about following through on that work and not letting that fall by the wayside. It's been a long wait, and that's not our fault. It's taken a while in the process, but I don't want us to lose it.
I think a goal for this year, when it comes to that, is the council should carefully read all of the report and assess a plan. Maybe, because we don't know what's gonna come back. We have no idea what's gonna come back, but to carefully or at least start implementing a plan to either address or to acknowledge or to do something. But I think we need to get that report carefully read over it. Maybe that would be the goal to start with.
I think I would prefer that there's some thought about funding, because otherwise we don't fund anything in a budget, then we have no wiggle room to do anything with what that report comes back.
And I would just say too, we're not 100% sure if the interpretive plan is going to give us specific things we could fund or specific ways to develop what we should fund, not even knowing what they are yet.
But there've been some things that have consistently come forth at all of the steps along the way as repeated recommendations that do have a cost figure to them. Like the Wabanaki Reach trainings. I think Lori was on the committee that had that recommendation. How many years back, Lori? Was it 2 at least or 3?
Still first formed, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago? I mean, it wasn't that long.
It's unlikely that some of those aren't gonna come back again, and they all have some price tag. So anyway, I'm fine if we think it's fully here, but I just, as our council discussion, I want to highlight, it's one of those floating ongoings that I don't want us to forget, that may not be explicitly called out.
All right, so we've got, if there isn't. We had, you wanted to, you offered,
I'd just like to know what staff would like to see us make a goal or focus on, or is there something that's important for you that we do make a goal?
that could be something that you coordinate. I mean, is there could you coordinate something with staff and bring it into our meeting? Do you think there's
How about
something?
how about we leave this up for a staff conversation to talk about what a goal from us would look like?
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
I think we're always giving them something to do.
I mean,
We need to hear from them.
there's the obvious. Less committee meetings and shorter council meetings.
I would agree with that.
The most
To say over here.
citizen engaged search for town manager.
Something to say.
Sure, hey.
I don't know, maybe one thing council can look at for all town staff is the mental health wellness aspect of their employees. I think that would be a huge step in helping take care of our employees.
So, and I'll put a plug in when we were talking about personnel before and what makes a difference to them. And it may just be did I interrupt you, Brian?
No, go for it.
May just be my staff, but they're very appreciative of flexibility and the work fit program. Their
What program?
work fit,
Yeah.
where they can earn time off.
Yeah.
And work out at the fitness center. That's something that is very valuable to them. So, and that fits in with mental health and
Because we're trying to promote that work-life balance. And that's one of our goals to help with retention too, is, being able to provide, if council had some direction or something that we could follow or work with.
Let us play with it and come back, because we've done some work that staff here knows that you haven't got all the information, but the work program needs to be reauthorized, I guess, is the way words at the council level. Staff's been working with some ideas, trying to improve percentages. I will own that statement, but if the program's not getting broad usage, can we expand it so that there's something that will get broad usage without losing anything? So we're working on that as we speak, but yeah, staff and I'll give you something in the next, we'll share it up through the agenda setting to see if the council wants to throw it onto an agenda for discussion. Yep.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. We make it one of our goals and, yeah. Okay.
One of your goals is to hear our goal.
Yeah.
Sure, seriously, it is kind of silly, but yeah, okay.
Great, I love it. Thank you for the suggestion. And thank you for the question.
You've actually done my next ones are done.
Yeah, I think we already got through the work plan work and the work plan tracker.
You've seen it, you've gone over it. I've told you what, I mean, if you read it, there's things there that I think I'm gonna bring back that were not finished. And some that were finished that aren't done yet. You know what I mean? It's hard to say that, but we made great progress on budgeting and transparency, but it's still not done. So I will, when I'm putting those work plans, I'll take all this new input and recraft those with all the new wonderful ideas staff's been sharing with me and keep it under 700 pages.
And then the sign up sheet for town tours. So if anybody wants to, who's coordinating that?
Can you go back one?
Sure.
Just on the process going forward. So if we get all this language on the goals in place for the December 1st meeting vote,
Tricky.
then we're okay. But otherwise, if we're not voting on them as a council until the 15th, we're not going to want to see your work plan until January, Glenn, right? Because you need weeks after that to respond to it.
I would
So we'll
agree.
just bump them each a meeting.
Yep.
Okay, just checking.
If we can, but we could.
We may be able to do it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
It may, yeah. We may get this on December 1st. It may be that I've seen it such that I've been working on the work plan, so.
Yeah.
It may be not hard to integrate all of that together. So yeah, I'll take a peek.
Okay.
But yeah, so the sign up sheet for the town tours. Can't have three of you at once. So that's why we're asking you to sign up what you want to see, and then we're gonna work with you on a plan to get some tours to the different places around town. But that's the last piece of the kickoff retreat, is we don't tour the whole town as part of the retreat. But if there's anything you want to see, whether it's the wastewater treatment facility or the old fire station or the pump station on Bennett Road, right? Bennett Road? No, it's not that's the catch basin, right? On Bennett Road. That the one you want to update and replace, we've got the new pipes and they come together in a force main on Bennett Road. The bottleneck. We can show you anything you want. We can lift a manhole cover up and you can take a peek down if you really want to take a look.
Wow. Can we just, some of us did a tour before of some of these buildings, and I remember on the town office tour, Shelley, a lot of us got halfway through the tour and then we had to race up to a council meeting. So if we check that box and say second half.
Yeah.
You guys will know what that means, right? Some of us saw half but didn't get to see it all.
Sure thing.
But so yeah, just get those back to us, to Amanda, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Other than that,
Anything else? Zach, you raise your hand?
we are done.
I gotta turn to you for final thoughts.
Whisper it.
We're done early. Thank you so much to everybody for participating and for all you do for Orono.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the minutes, whoever brought them.